Okay, so we're gonna just go live because Mindwaves and Redneck Invasion, neither of them are here. It's been 11 minutes over it. We'll just have to do a 2v2 for today. Thankfully, Justin and Riley, CTV and Redneck, came, so we do have a show. I'm thankful for that. So we're just gonna go straight in. Let's go for it.
Works.
Not gonna get dogpiled today.
Hey, how's it going?
Not on this.
Oh,
Hey,
look,
there's the
hey,
boss.
look who finally decided to join us. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. Obviously, my longtime problem with Twitch streamers has come to haunt me again. Their inability to ever show up to an event on time. They would miss their own birth if they could. It is impossible to get them to come to a decent schedule.
That's on
So-
me, Dylan. Apologies. I was trying to squeeze in a little bit of my Friday walk before the stream, so
No,
I will
it's-
totally take the heat.
No,
on that.
well, Jury, it's not only you. If anything, I'm happy that you at least came because the other two, I don't even know where they are. So,
Gotcha.
But thankfully,
so
Thankfully,
that's
if you
all.
look at the room, it's still proportionally 2v2. So if anything,
we go.
that means you all just get to have a more in-depth conversation because we're not going to have a 3v3 instead.
I love it. Let's
Wonderful.
go. Fuck it. Let's go.
Hey,
We
you
got
know
some
what?
replacement
It
incoming.
actually reminds me, I had a class in college that was one of these. You just have to write one 30-page paper at the end to get the credits because our higher education system is a sham. And I wrote everything in like the last 12 hours, and I come in and I think it's an 8:00 deadline. I print it out. I run up. Of course, it's some TA's office in the bowels of whatever building there is. And I literally come in this guy's office at 7:59. I do a turn and then I moonwalk to his desk and I slam my paper down on his desk, thinking that I was there with 1 minute to spare. And he goes, "Yeah, that was due at 7:30." And I'm like, "Oh," and he's like, "The good news is people are later than you." And I'm like, "Still counts. See you later." Thanks for the 3 credits.
3 credits. Hey, that's how it goes. Anyway, I'm going to go around the room. We're going to all introduce ourselves. And then I'm going to go into the rules. And then I'm going to go into the final processes of just starting the first topic. So, I'm going to start with the top left-hand corner, which is my fellow Marylander, Best State. I'm Crab Man, you're Crab Woman. So, who are you?
Hi, my name is Riley Grace Roshong. I am, I don't know whether you call me smaller or big or whatnot, just past 10K political streamer here on YouTube or Twitch, wherever you're watching. I stream left politics. I also talk about the law and my experience studying the law and how it applies to politics. I talk about being LGBT and how that applies to my understanding of politics. And yeah, I don't know. Otherwise, I do a lot of memeing on here, so that's fun too. Yeah, I don't know. That's probably the main points.
Wonderful. Next, we have the host with the most, Justin R. Young.
Hi, everybody. My name is Justin Robert Young. You can call me Jury. I host a stream here on Twitch called the Politics live stream. I also do a podcast of the same name and a history podcast that is starting my second season this Sunday called Raise the Dead. And I'm so happy to join such a spirited conversation with my fellow Twitch streamers.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for coming. I know we had a polite discussion on Biden last week. So now we get to have a polite discussion about Trump this week. Wonderful.
Love it. Yeah, I mostly focus on electoral strategy and stuff like that. So I'm happy that obviously there is a lot to talk about today.
Wonderful. I gotta sometimes just talk to you one-on-one about electoral politics. I'd love to. I've managed a few campaigns. Would love to go in depth with you.
Absolutely. No, I love it.
Wonderful. I'm gonna throw it over to CTV.
Hey, everybody. I'm CTV. I am very happy to have been invited back here by Mr. Dylan Burns. Appreciate that. For everybody's out there, if you come by the channel, I'm usually just answering questions that people have, and I critically think about them and work out kind of all the angles. So if you've got questions, I've got a long ass way to explain it.
Next, I'm going to throw it over to Redneck.
What's cracking, everybody? I'm Redneck. I am the OG cracker himself, and that's with an A, not an ER. Yeah, I'm new to political streaming. I'm mostly focused on veterans and veterans' rights and veterans' mental health awareness. I'm a service-connected disabled veteran myself, so dealing with a lot of the mental health I've had to deal with has brought me here. I don't do this for a living. I do this for self-indulgence, and I guess sadomasochistic tendencies. Because yeah, well, I'm getting there. Thanks, Jess. I appreciate it. I've tolerated a lot.
I got your back.
No, I got it. And when CTV claims he critically thinks, he's a fucking redneck just as much as me, if not worse. So don't believe him, even though he's on my side of the fence. He's fucking full of shit. I love him though. And no, seriously, guys. Hippie Dippie, thank you very much, Mr. Man himself, Dylan Burns, for bringing us on here and letting us talk. But I am going to get serious about my schedule. I have topics for every day of the week. I don't know when I stream. I just jump on and stream when I want. So if you want to check out chickens, hunting, political commentary, or me just talking shit, I'm Redneck with a Q, and then sometimes it's a TM. All my information's out here somewhere. Thank you.
Wonderful. You know what? If you need some top-tier chicken content on Twitch, that's what I came to Twitch for. You can go to Redneck's Twitch channel. The only place you're going to get top-tier chicken content on Twitch. We're getting replacements for Mind Waves. We already have last username for the right, so we're setting that out behind the scenes soon. So we should have 2 more people joining the conversation shortly. Thankfully, we do have a reserve of people who want to come on. We're going to go straight into the first topic after going over the rules. The rules are as follows. Number 1, there will be no TOS conduct on the stream. If you say anything TOS, you will be immediately booted and you will not be welcome back. I'd like to keep my Twitch stream for the foreseeable future. Number 2, you will not at any other panel host in my chat. Don't at them and try to argue in the chat. If you want to argue with them, they're right in front of you. Just say it to their face. We don't need to heat up the conversation in chat. Number 3, when it comes to issues of interruptions, I will do my best to interfere if there's too much interruption. There can be a few if somebody says a point which you want to interrupt because you just find so outrageous, that is allowed. But if I find it to be overbearing, I will try to step in and make sure everybody gets a decent amount of speaking time. Number 4, I'm gonna stop counting. I'm bad with numbers. But the next rule: if you want to talk but you're finding it difficult to find a way into the conversation in the panel type format, raise your hand. I'll write your name down and I'll make sure the conversation slowly makes its way over to you. And number 5, if I ever speak up, I'm speaking up because I want to direct the conversation in a certain direction, or I'm trying to make it so somebody gets some time to speak. So that means when I start talking, everybody else stops. And the last thing I should throw out there is I am very liberal with the mute button. So if I think that you are violating any of these previously stated rules and I give you a warning, I will follow that up quickly with a mute. Unlike the presidential debate, I have some amount of power here. So I'm not Chris Wallace. Okay, we're going to go straight into the first topic, which is, now is very topical concerning recent news, so I've moved it to the actual first topic. Did Trump handle the COVID-19 crisis properly? I repeat this question one more time. Did Trump handle the COVID-19 crisis properly? You will all get a 1-minute speaking time to start this off. Nobody is allowed to interrupt anyone else. I'm going to start, as always, in the top left-hand corner with Riley.
I'll keep it briefer than then. I couldn't tell if it was a minute or 2. So let's start off with the fact that Trump knew about the potential severity of the pandemic from the beginning. He admitted so later on television when he said that he intentionally downplayed the severity of it, even though he's upplayed other issues like hurricanes, losing Democrats, immigrants, low-income housing. It's not new to him to, try to upplay the severity of things. So that's very interesting. Yet, despite having this knowledge, he ignored the NSC guidelines from the start. He eliminated the CDC as a leader for data collection analysis surrounding the pandemic, and he lied about the nature of the pandemic so much that studies showed that he was the largest driver of misinformation surrounding it in the world. As a consequence, we now have the highest unemployment in our country's history, one of the worst observed case fatality ratios of any country in the world, and one of the highest rates of death per 100,000 citizens of any country in the world. Things have gotten so bad here that even Trump, for as much as he has downplayed and mishandled the pandemic, has contracted it himself. So no, I would say that Trump did not handle the COVID-19 pandemic properly, and I just find any opinion to the contrary kind of laughable.
Okay, and next I'm going to throw it to her right with, I was about to say jury, Justin.
That's fine. Jury's fine. Honestly, I really specifically now have to wonder if anybody can or could have handled this particularly well. Here's what we do know about Donald Trump. Every single weakness that he has as a leader was revealed during this particular situation. He is a bomb thrower. He is not a bridge builder. And I think that's why he was elected. That means that when he is trying to coordinate with not only his own government, but also the governors in states for which he needs to show leadership over, he had an inability to do it. You compound that with the fact that we are in an election year, and he is somebody that is looked at as very uniquely polarizing, and somebody that nobody on the other end of the aisle could even be seen as capitulating to or helping on any kind of electoral level. And I think that we have the situation that we have seen going forward. I want to be realistic, though. We have seen that this virus is indeed everything that we have possibly feared. It is a once in a century problem, in the same way that the Spanish flu was. It is a pernicious virus, one that has a very, very long incubation period and an ability to spread asymptomatically. More so, it has a very varied varied effect on different parts of our society. I live in the Bay Area. I live in Oakland, California, a place for which you're likely going to be able to, on November 4th or beyond, count the Trump votes on one hand. I still see a lot of people without masks here walking around. I think that there are cultural issues for which make this very, very hard to keep under control. And while we often think about things in terms of a presidential leadership making a difference, I don't quite know if anybody could have made this measurably more palatable, or at least more survivable than we have seen. So has he done a good job? No, I don't believe that there is a way that we can see that
Gotta
he
wrap it up.
affected it. But yeah, there we go.
Okay. Next, I'm going to throw it over to Polar, since CTV is currently away. And Polar, you can also introduce yourself.
Yes. My name is Polar. Okay. I was called in impromptu, but I'm always excited to be here. I do political content on Twitch. I'm in high school, and this is one of my hobbies, so that kind of makes me a loser, but I don't care. I love to do this anyways. The first topic is talking about whether Trump handled the coronavirus issue well, and I specifically disagree to the most. It seems like President Trump had a various amount of notice. He had the instructions of exactly what to do, and then just chose not to engage on those things. I personally think this was a very botched example of how to handle a pandemic, and I'm honestly very disappointed in the country. And I can go specifically into what he could have done, what he should have done, and the information that he was given.
Wonderful. Next, I'm going to throw it over to CTV.
Well, I think Justin kind of squared it away there when he said it's one of those once in 100-year type things. It's I feel like that when he was making the call early on to shut down international flights, that was kind of the right move, and the move that I'll be wanting the executive to be worried about. And I do feel like that he's done a lot to be able to assist the states in handling this problem. Especially with regard to, say, having the U.S. Navy or the Navy ship Comfort up in New York Harbor. As far as his handlement of the executive's resources to assist the states, I think he's done rather well.
Okay, next I'm going to throw it over to Last Username, who can also introduce themselves.
Hey there, I'm Last Username, and I'm also jumping in here last minute. So I would have liked to have time to research this topic, but I'll do the best I can. Obviously, this is something that's come up, talked about heavily since the pandemic started. And I think that generally people are a little too quick to just, scapegoat Donald Trump or various other people or things for things that have gone wrong during this pandemic. That question is so complicated. Like, did Donald Trump handle this properly? First of all, it's not clear that we know how this should have been handled. It's not clear that we even know enough about the virus, that we know enough about the economic effects of the lockdowns that have happened to know what the cut through cost of those will be. We may not know that for a little while. We don't know entirely. I think we still don't know a whole lot about the virus, and whether lockdowns are effective, whether the masks are effective, all kinds of stuff. What would have happened in counterfactuals. So there's all that unknown. Also, we have to keep in mind that America is not the president of America doesn't just tell the entire country what to do. There's this elaborate structure. The president has certain authorities, agencies like the CDC and the FDA have certain authorities, and then the states have certain authorities that the federal government can't just tell them what to do. Considering all that, it's I'm sure there's going to be things that Trump could have done differently, but the idea that this what went wrong was all about him it's extremely unlikely. Let's say, there's obviously things that went wrong on all different levels of government and all different agencies, and then it's not even clear that the government could have done a whole lot to make this go much better. But like I say, I didn't have a whole lot of time to research this, so let me just listen in, and I'll see if I can offer some input here and there.
Okay, and we're going to wrap this intro section up with Redneck.
What's cracking? So, did he do a good job or not? So we're going to backseat quarterback or side chair, armchair, whatever the hell you want to call it, on something that none of you guys can answer right now for me, whether it was man-made or if this is natural. So sort of leading into what last username says, everybody could sit here and say they would have done something different. President Trump is notoriously known for having opposing views in front of him. On one hand, you have people on the left claiming he's the most idiotic person in the fucking world. He's all of these bad things, can't think, isn't smart, blah, blah, blah. Yet they'll turn around and then say, but it's amazing how he has opposing views at every one of his meetings, and he listens to them fight viciously, and then he makes a decision and goes with it. And Fauci, who everybody touts as being one of the smartest men on this, has said that Trump did everything that he was advised to do per his recommendations. I just think that people are looking for a scapegoat. There's one thing that we all need to talk about here, and it's people die. And when you have an illness that happens every year, I mean, we still have the flu every year, and it originates out of Southeast Asia, and yet we have vaccines for it, but it's only 60% effective. If you want to give me numbers better than 60%, let's go. I like the hypocritical thoughts. I like to see everybody slamming, saying he's going to die. But I'm also of the mindset that we should have just went full force, just like Sweden, no mask, and went balls to the wall. That's where I stand. And I think he did a great job.
Okay. Next, I'm going to just open it into open dialogue where you can all just interact and ask people questions if you disagreed with somebody. And I can tell from some expressions in the face that there is some disagreement in the room. So I'm going to just throw it up in the air and you can grab it.
Yeah, last username. Can I follow up on some things that you said?
Sure.
Okay, so you said that you didn't know, or that you wouldn't expect Trump to have known what to do back when the pandemic was first starting.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay, well, can you clarify what you said? Yeah, can you clarify what you said? Yeah, I want to be able to respond appropriately. Okay, so do you think that, all right, so then I just want to make sure I'm responding to the correct point. So do you think that Trump could be reasonably expected to have known what to do back when the pandemic was first starting?
Reasonably expected to know what to do? No.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I'm trying to rephrase what you said. If not, then I can just respond to the idea. All right. Do you find any contention with the idea that he should have? First off, does anyone contend? Is anyone here arguing that he should not have reasonably known what to do when the pandemic started? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Or do we all just agree that he should have known what to do and he just didn't do it?
What do you mean know what to do when everything that he did do, the left was against? The Democrats said it's no need, you're overreacting, don't do this.
Oh,
We go all the
because
way back to December 31st. I mean,
because like the
December
National Security
31st.
Council,
Hey,
the
Riley.
National Security Council explicitly recommends what to do in the face of like potential pandemics, and he just explicitly chose to not follow those recommendations. Like we know what he should have done. We have explicit guidelines for these types of situations. He just chose not to do them.
He is the president.
He literally
He made
ignored
choices.
the guidelines for what to do in these situations. Like
Redneck.
the guidelines explicitly made for these situations, he just chose to ignore them,
Redneck,
even though he
we-
knew the potential
Which-
severity of the
which
pandemic.
guidelines?
By the NSC.
Okay, one at a
I
time.
can-
Okay.
Yeah. Like, for example, one of them is that we want to make sure that there is sufficient personal protective equipment for healthcare workers, such as face masks or ventilators. And he didn't. We explicitly made sure we just threw it over to the states to
didn't.
basically. Yeah, no, he did. He literally just threw it out to states to be like, hey, y'all can vouch for however many face masks you want. You all can negotiate with each other for whatever you want. We're going to just ignore the fact that everyone has like a drastic shortage of face masks, right?
Do you realize there was a massive shortage in the national stockpile, and that was because of the previous administration's failures to stockpile it?
This is literally just whataboutism. He had the
No, it
ability to
isn't
be able
what
to
about it.
invest.
It's a fucking fact.
No. He
Wait, it's a
literally had the
fucking
funds to
fact.
be able to invest in there. Yeah, he literally
It's
had
the
the funds to
state's
be able to.
responsibility to take care of their states.
Yes, exactly. Hold on, you're just throwing it back to states. That's literally just whataboutism. You're saying that, oh yeah, because like even though he chose to drastically disregard the policies that the president and the federal government should
What date
take
are
in
you
these
going
sort of
for?
situations. Yeah, no, he literally just disregarded them.
What date are you going for, Riley? What date? What date you starting at? When's your
What
date?
This is March 25th. Actually, I'm
So
reading.
you realize December 31st, China reported it. January 3rd, CDC Director Robert Redfield sent an email to the Director of China, blah, blah, blah. January 5th, January 6th, January 7th. I mean, we have a fucking timeline that I can send you if you want to read it point by point.
I mean, trust me, I've gone over the
end.
entirety of the timeline, and we know at this point that the federal government, that the Trump administration, literally did the exact opposite.
January, he issued travel restrictions that every Democrat said was wrong.
You are not addressing the actual point. He literally went
I am
against
addressing
what
the
the
actual point.
He went
No.
against the national. Yes, he did.
Yes,
He
did.
literally. We have these policies. We have these rules for what to do in the face of a national pandemic, and he just chose to ignore them, even though he knew the severity of the pandemic.
He had already started doing things in January, and you're sitting there saying
Doing
he was
what things?
ignoring stuff.
Doing what things?
All right,
Was
so
he-
At some
let's
point,
go.
it
I'll
has-
share
hold on, hold
I'll
on.
share it.
Yeah, go for it. We'll go through the
Hold
piece by
on.
piece.
Yeah, at some point it's got to get to where some of us can keep listening, because man, the amount of gunfire that I am hearing go past my ears is.
I mean, this is just like a fact,
mean, I
right?
like
Like he
the
literally
energy,
ignored the national security guidelines on what to do in these kind of situations, and we're just pretending like, oh yeah, that's fine.
And CTV, since when are you in favor of gun control?
I know. that's what
Ah,
I'm saying.
man, it's sometimes when you're sitting back and you're just kind of you're juking and jiving, you just kind of like, okay.
Well,
'Cause
here,
he
hold
did
on, hold
already
on, hold on.
say that he was addressing international travel, right? And then you just like, well, what did he? And he's like,
Wait,
now we're having to repeat ourselves, so it's.
Okay,
Well,
are we talking about
yeah.
international travel? All right,
This is-
can we talk about the fact that he continuously talked about trying to restrict travel from China, but he never actually completely cut it off?
Yeah, American.
Can we talk about is
individuals
this
still back.
man-made or not? Can we talk about
That's
that?
Why
Why
does
does
that
that
matter?
matter?
It's literally
What the hell?
whataboutism. You're just doing whataboutism. That doesn't matter.
Guys,
Okay,
you
okay,
can't
okay,
nitpick
okay.
about the fucking way the car drives. You don't talk about how the car was built.
Okay.
Redneck,
I
Redneck,
see.
I-
I got
I-
it. Break it up. What last rule when I speak up? Okay, I'm seeing Jury try to get in here. So I'm gonna throw it over to Jury quick because Jury hasn't said anything yet.
I need to push back on that, Redneck, because we are learning. We are learning about this virus. We continue to learn
Still.
about this virus
Still.
to this day. Let's not be scientifically dishonest about this. Indeed,
I'm
we
not.
are
I'm
still
saying go
learning
to the
about it.
beginning.
Whoa, let me talk. Let me talk, baby. It's fine. All I'm saying is this: everything that we do know about it is that it is indeed man-made. Or sorry, not man-made. It is naturally occurring. It is naturally occurring. Everything we know
You're
about it.
sure?
Now look, no. Again, science is not about being for sure. Science is about knowing what we know and building the best truth that we can on the scientific precedent. There is nothing to show, nor is there evidence, although murky though is the information coming out of China, that this is anything other than the same kind of natural phenomenon that has existed in 1918, in 1957, in 1967. Like, this has happened before, and indeed it happened again. There is no reason to spread, at least right now, is a conspiracy theory without scientific basis that this was man-made. So I do need to push back on you against that. We can
So New York
not
Post
something that
article.
history has not seen before. Which, to Riley's
We
point,
can't take that.
to Riley's point, it was George W. Bush who read a book about the Spanish flu and sent up a warning to his own National Security Council to make sure that we would not be left unprepared if indeed this happened again. And what we did have when this thing began, and while Donald Trump cannot be solely blamed for not having everything in control before, both on the state level and in the federal level, he is the man now. The buck stops at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And we did not have sufficient contact tracing. We did not have sufficient stockpiles. We were not coordinating with the states to make sure that their stockpiles were in proper regard before this happened. So while I can say that there is plenty of blame to go around from the smallest level right up to the top, at the end of the day, if we are going to be accountable to our federal executive leaders, then the buck stops there. I'm sorry. Look, I'm actually more along the side of saying that there is a complicated problem for which it's hard to solve, and there's a lot of ways that we can Monday morning quarterback this, but we have to understand at least what the facts are to have a credible argument about it.
I would also like to add on to Riley's point. Riley, she made some great points about what is supposed to happen when you're in a pandemic, but we had even more specifics, right? For example, the Coronavirus Task Force on February 21st conducted a mock-up exercise of what they thought the pandemic was going to be, right? They predicted 110 million infections, 7.7 million hospitalizations, and 500,000 deaths, right? The group concluded that they would soon need to move towards aggressive social distancing, even at the risk of severe disruption to the nation's economy and the daily lives of millions of Americans. That was on February 21st. But it took Trump more than 3 weeks to enact such guidelines on March 16th. Let's also go to another Fauci quote about this, right? So Fauci goes in an interview with, I think this was one of the CNN anchors goes, but you're right. I mean, obviously, if we had from the very beginning shut everything down, it may have been a little bit different, but there was a lot of pushback about shutting things down back then. The president didn't do what he needed to, even when recommended, and at the cost of this, at the cost of his late response, it's a predicted about 125,000 American lives were lost. Redneck, please tell me, one, that he didn't know what to do, he didn't have the access to the resources that he needed, and please tell me that those lives that are lost right now aren't on his hands.
They're not, and he made the right decisions.
What?
Please explain why. Yeah, please justify it. Please justify. That's a pretty wild claim. Justify
I
it.
do want to hear.
I'm going to answer. I'm going to
Hold on,
answer
I
a
don't
wild
think you
claim
would-
with a fucking set up a question. I mean, look, don't come in here and see and be in bad faith to try to sit here and just put all the onus on the one man when everybody just got through agreeing that the onus is on across multiple platforms. It's state,
He's
it's
literally
local,
the guy
it's
in
federal.
charge. He's literally the guy in charge. He's in charge of everything.
And
So again, do you want me to read? Do you want me to read the fucking timeline? Do y'all want me to read your timeline for you?
relevant.
Oh my god, this is literally just what about
not in
it? I swear to God,
charge
there's not an
of
actual
everything.
argument here.
Wait. We gotta
Whoa,
speak
how-
on it.
how's the timeline?
Redneck. I understand you're frustrated, but I just want to be clear. One at a time. Nobody can hear anything if everybody's talking over each other. So Redneck, you asked a question. I want to give you a period of time to respond to that question. Do you wanted to give out a timeline in response?
I mean, first off, I want to know when the Fauci interview, what date was on that, and the exact critique, because you're using that to justify your question, I think, as evidence that Trump didn't do something.
So no, it's not just one interview, right? So this was what is this? April the 12th, right? This was an interview. That's just one Fauci quote. Everything else that I gave you was the Coronavirus Task Force recommendations, other government official recommendations, a study that looked at the effects of social distancing and how early, the earlier it is, the more effective that is. I can link that all to you if you want to see it.
So when Fauci said on March 31st that masks were not necessary, that's
That's irrelevant to my point. Oh my God. I was literally talking about social distancing policy. That is
no, the point is that he's getting conflicting information from the scientists that you guys tell him he didn't fucking listen to.
Careful, you might get whiplash with all that pivoting.
I know. Redneck, this is one specific point about social distancing, something that the president has a large control over when it comes to the federal guidelines. This is something that he had sole control over. He had Fauci was giving him the information. Other government officials were giving him the information. The Coronavirus Task Force was giving him information. And this was 3 weeks before.
What date?
April the 12th was the Fauci quote. And then the February 21st was the mock-up, the mock-up of the pandemic.
All right. I'll just link the timeline in chat of all the transactions that he did and all the functions that he did, if it would let me.
Actually, hold on. I really want to follow up on
this.
this.
Irrelevant of these other timelines. When
No,
I'm
it's
talking
not
about-
because the
no,
president.
wait, stop. Let me finish.
I want to hear
One.
Polar finish.
Yeah.
fuck
Irrelevant
it.
into this aspect because this is one single action that he had a lot of support in what he should have done, and he did get a lot of criticism for it. This is probably one of the easiest things that he could have done. All it took was changing the social distancing guidelines and sending that out to the states. That didn't have to do as much with federal mobilization of like forms of needed goods, right? But this was something that he was given the tasks for. This was something that was recommended by multiple individuals, and that has had a massive cost on American society. Even if we go through your timeline, this is one action that has done so much harm. I don't know what like timeline.
I think more harm has been done to society by locking us down and doing this whole shutdown than if we would have went straight through.
Can I respond to
Stream.
that? Actually, there have been studies directly to that point. Can I respond to that?
It's
Yeah,
free,
there have
it's
actually
open.
been studies on this. All right, cool. So actually, despite Trump calling for the country to open earlier in the summer, studies actually show, for example, the Great Influence of 1918 conclude that cities that adopted non-pharmaceutical intervention measures, such as quarantining earlier and kept them in place longer, did better both health-wise and economically. Specifically, they had fewer deaths and their economies actually recovered faster. Literally, when we have had longer quarantines in the past, we both had less deaths and a faster recovery of the economy. And that's probably why we're doing worse than like most countries in the fucking world right now. So no, if we would have done that, then we would have seen more deaths and we would have had a slower recovery of our economy. Like that's what studies show right now. I don't just tell you, dude.
You don't tell me anything.
So
I mean,
Riley,
I have
You
my
still
opinion.
wait, no. Like, why do you? All right, so why do you stand by your
I have
opinion?
my
Like,
opinion.
even in the face of overwhelming evidence, you choose to maintain your
There's
opinion.
no
Like, why do you do?
overwhelming evidence because you motherfuckers can't even tell me when it started or how.
What? All right, hold on. Here's the question. Like, why is that relevant? Why is that relevant? Tell us why that's relevant.
Again, why would you drive a car if you don't know where it was built?
You're not.
How
You're
do you
just
know
using
how
an
to
anecdote.
operate
Why
it?
is that relevant? You're literally not explaining why it's
role.
relevant. You're not. So
Do
you're
you
not going to
not-
explain why it's relevant.
I would if you'd slow down. You okay?
All right, then do it. Please explain why it's relevant when
Are
it
you
started.
okay? You
Yes,
okay?
I'm just fine. Please explain why it's
Okay.
relevant when it started.
So when we get dressed, we put clothes on, right? And we start from the inside out. So we do this as a process because over history and time, we've learned that if you have underwear on, it kind of protects you. And if you put some pants on, it protects your legs and shirts. We don't even know how this thing started or which way it was going or what it was intentioned for. And people still don't understand its full ramifications of how it's adapting and changing. It is still fucking changing today.
Cool. So why
this
does that
smoke
justify?
screen-
All right. Hold on.
This
So why does that
just-
justify
let me-
like
Whoa,
literally Trump
Riley.
choosing to ignore
Whoa,
NHS guidelines and
Riley.
like taking away the
Whoa,
CDC from
Riley.
taking over
Whoa,
recovery in
Riley.
it?
Okay.
Yeah. Why does it justify any of the later decisions of
Look,
Trump?
Riley,
You're not telling me
look.
why it justifies any of the later decisions.
Riley,
Okay.
Yeah, what's up?
Okay.
Riley, for fuck's
That's my
sake.
name.
Now
That-
listen,
I'm listening.
the man. Look, I have a question for you. I've tried to ask you a couple of times,
Okay.
but Redneck he's been taking a beating, right? So why don't we come on over here and talk to CTV for a minute, right? So here's the question that I got for you, since we're talking specifically about Trump and understanding that he's the head of the federal branch of government, and he is not the only person that is in charge of a numerous amounts of things, i.e. governors in states have a say as to what happens inside their state, right? Right?
You're asking me. Hold on. Are you asking me if he's not
I'm
like the person
literally-
in charge
we're
of this? If
talking
he's not the
about
president of the United States of
structure
America?
the government is what I'm talking about.
He is
right?
literally the
So if
head
you
of
can
our federal
literally
government.
Understand
He is the
that
head of our
there
federal
is
government.
way
Yes.
more people
Yeah, he's
involved with this
authoritarian.
process
Solo
than
word
just
one.
the president of the United States.
He is
Right?
literally the president of the
So-
United States.
Well,
With that in mind,
Wow.
let me ask.
I
Let me
think-
ask a clarifying question. Quick, CTV. I want to get you to finish your question, but this has actually been brought up like 3 times now. So I do want to ask
Okay.
this specifically to Riley. Riley, they keep on bringing up the point. There's blame on a lot of levels, and I mean, the president he is the president of the United States, but there's also local leaders, state leaders, governors who have control over different resources and different things. So do you think there has any legitimacy to the claim that like we can't just put this all on Trump?
Oh, I'm not trying to put it all on Trump. The question is whether or not he handled COVID appropriately, and I would say he didn't. That doesn't really matter what the
So do
what
you
the
have an
actions of
eight-ball?
like governors were. That's
Do
not
you have
relevant
an
to the
8-ball?
question.
No, it is relevant. Do you have an 8-ball?
Do I have an 8-ball? What are you
Yeah.
asking?
Well, I mean, I have this thing, right? It's called an 8-ball in my chat.
Okay, yeah.
And I do. Hold on. What I do is I hit 8-ball, and then I ask it a question, and it gives me this is what's going to happen. So at least then maybe I got an idea, right? I don't have a
Okay.
magic ball to be able to look into and see what the future is going to hold. So,
Mhm.
back to what Redneck said to begin with, the Monday
Mhm.
morning quarterback it after the fact is kind of pointless.
Can you get, like, to the
I'm
question?
honestly curious how there is this much energy in this particular topic, but you seem to bring a lot of it to it. So I'm just kind of happy.
Oh, because you're all literally just trying to cast doubt on what is otherwise a very blatantly obvious question. That's
And
why.
this
It's actually kind of
to you-
infuriating that, like, you
to
cannot
you it
literally
is.
look at the overwhelming evidence
Okay.
and come to the conclusion that
Because,
Trump
like-
colossally fucked up.
Okay,
So
wait,
it's-
I-
it's-
frustrated. You
wow.
guys aren't even
Wow.
arguing
We gotta-
the good point on the Trump side. Let me do it for you. He
We
did
don't have
shut down both China and Europe at a point where other people were calling it xenophobic. He
international
did
travel already
indeed,
mentioned.
build up ventilators at a point where we have never had a problem with a ventilator shortage, and indeed we're shipping other stuff there. He did organize
Protection
with
Act.
governors, and he had a combative relationship with Democratic governors, and you can blame there. If you're going to argue for Trump, at least argue for the wins. Like there's no point.
Why should we argue for stuff that you knew yourself? You
What?
knowing that, Justin, you knowing that in fighting for us shows that they're just fucking being bad faith and coming out of it from their asses.
No.
So-
Because what Riley is saying is either he did a good job in the position that he could, or he didn't. And I happen to agree with her that he did not do the best
And
job.
how
that
can
he
you
could.
make that assumption without knowing
Here's
the start,
Here's how.
So,
Here's
the
how.
start or the end?
Here's
You don't
how.
have the start
Okay.
or the end.
What?
Still haven't answered why we need to know that.
That's relevant.
Can you?
Yeah.
Can you?
Because they're goalposts. They're
No, no, no,
goalposts.
no, no,
That's
no.
literally, you're not answering the question.
Can I go
I
into
got you. Here's what happened. There was George W. Bush, a Republican president, although I might remind people, had a point in place for contact tracing and assuring that the states had stockpiles. Now, you can say that Obama depleted them, and that to a certain extent is fair. But guess what? Donald Trump had 3 years to rectify that problem, and he did not. So at the end of the day, he's got to eat that L. And yes, it just so happened that the deck of life had 100-year pandemic in it for him. But I'm sorry, you can't excuse away for the fact that there was a playbook and he did not have it there. There's a lot of blame to go up and down. But if you're gonna argue
A playbook
wins,
that he didn't
just
have.
argue
So
wins.
how did he not have it? How did he not have it?
We had 3 years to
We
prepare
didn't
for
have
this.
the
Are you
contact
serious?
tracing program. We didn't have the states prepared in the same kind of level, and he didn't have the wherewithal in terms of communicating with high density states like New York to be able to mitigate the problem that was coming in.
Right.
So
So,
it's
he
his
works
fault
for
that
the
the state
federal
can take
government,
care
not
of
the state
themselves.
government. Thanks for pointing that out.
The buck stops at 1600.
The
right?
buck
No, it
stops at the
doesn't.
look. Every state that you're saying has that buck stops
It
at
doesn't,
President Trump.
though.
They all said that he
doesn't.
helped them. He gave them everything they
No.
asked
Oh,
for.
yeah,
Look,
Teddy.
Are you serious? He made them all like go and raffle off for like the
Yeah.
rare number of ventilators. Are you goddamn
See,
serious?
Look, if the
What-
buck
what-
stopped
so-
with Trump, then
okay,
how did the
mhm.
governor of New York do the shit that he was doing?
Yeah, Riley. Let's just
I mean,
use New
come
York.
on.
Let's just use New York. He
Just
asked for
New
a
York,
vote,
yeah,
he got
just the
ship.
one state that might be able to prove your point.
Well,
It
I
only
mean,
takes
it only
one
takes
to
one.
prove
Well,
the
I mean,
point
it
about
only takes
government
one. Are you
Okay,
goddamn
okay.
serious?
Okay.
Oh my god.
Okay. One at a time.
Highest
one at a time.
death rates
Okay.
in the nation.
One at a
Highest
time.
fucking death rates.
Run at a
Highest
time.
sentence.
Okay. I'm interrupting here. Okay.
No, sorry.
There's
Harry Truman.
Uh,
Truman. Dig up Harry Truman.
Jury. Come on. I'm gonna put down a jury did a bad note right here. Okay, so I want to get to two people. I want to get to Polar because I don't know how he's going to divert the conversation. Then afterward, I'm going to get back to Riley because Riley, with that last comment I saw, was particularly had a reaction to it. So I wanted to see why she had that reaction afterwards. So Polar, I saw you were raising your hand.
So I would like to address this aspect about even if we don't necessarily know where it comes from, we should probably still address it, right? We didn't get to choose for the coronavirus to come to our nation and do all this fucked up shit to our society, right? We didn't necessarily get to choose whether like this virus was created or not. It's irrelevant of where it came from or how it came from. What we do know is that it's taking a massive toll. It's affected millions of lives. And I think CTV and like Redneck were asking, this is like asking like a quarterback what they were doing, some stupid football reference, but like looking into the past, the reason why I care about this is because we've had almost 125,000 Americans die to negligence. To say that we should just like, why are you criticizing them in the past? I think that's a really stupid way of looking at things because one, these are people, these are fellow American citizens. Redneck, you're a veteran, you fought for these kinds of people. These
Yeah,
are
and I
fellow
lose fucking
Americans.
brothers every fucking day for suicide. Did we still talk about that
That's a,
bullshit?
wait. Wait, yeah, I care about them too. Wait, Redneck, I care about them too. I want policies and I want things to be done that make sure that those things aren't happening as frequently. I care about these people and I want these things to be done so that their lives aren't wasted in vain. That's what I care about, okay? And I care about, one, making sure that we don't have another one of these pandemics in the future to the scale that we've had now. So to say that, like, because we don't know where it comes from, that we shouldn't react to it in an effective way, I think is ignorant.
And I think it's ignorant to think that everything's wrapped around this one situation. I.e., why, if this was as bad as it was, why were they fluffing the numbers? Why were even hospitals reporting different numbers? Why was the CDC having to rescind and change its numbers? Differences between what actually.
What?
Do I have evidence of it? It was fucking national news less than 2 weeks ago.
It was actually it's more likely that it's underreported. One of the reasons why it's so difficult, right? For example, for a lot of people to know, is because we're compared to past years and compared to past times, we're having an abnormal amount of deaths, right? Compared to the actual deaths from COVID. So a lot of people, a lot of actually health experts are presuming that
there's your CDC link.
So, yeah, there are a lot of issues when it comes to reporting, but not because it's like over-reported. It seems like it's more likely under-reported. One.
No, they over-reported. They were attributing COVID to deaths that were not
comorbidities. You mean that's not? Do you really want to go into this? I'm sorry, this is a really basic point, but to say that coronavirus,
you jump to comorbidity, but there's people that died of actual cancer that had not even any symptom of COVID at all, not even tested for COVID, but labeled under COVID. Come on.
Do you have any? Hold on. This is news to me. Do you have actually any evidence of this? I know that the people have reported on this, but do you have any citable authority on this?
Wait a minute. So you said you acknowledge that there's been reporting on this, but you want me to find you some different stuff?
No, I know that people have talked about this. I know that this is like something that a lot of right-wing pundits have been that have been spreading around, but I have yet to see an actual source on this. So do you have one?
Okay, I'll do some research for you on that one too.
Wait, hold on. Wait. So you actually don't really know if there are any sources confirming your point?
Riley, you said you heard it too. Riley, you said
I heard it from fucking right-wing pundits on internet, like fucking Steven Crowder. Yeah, I've heard it. Yep. Okay. That doesn't mean it's fucking. That doesn't mean it's reliable. That doesn't mean that Steven Crowder is a fucking reliable source.
You're sitting there saying, and I've been sitting here in good faith listening. You tell me, oh, I got facts. I got the irrefutable evidence.
I'm able to cite to everything. Yeah, I brought sources for everything that I say.
Sure.
Yeah, Yeah, you ask me for any citation on anything that I say, that I will give it to you.
Guess what? It doesn't fucking matter because I can counter citation it as well. I can go and find counter information.
Give it to me right now. I'm ready for it.
Please.
Let's go. Give me your list and I'll make a list against yours.
Sure,
Let's go.
Sure. Which specific claim? For which specific claims, right? Like we'll go into every single one.
I have a full research document. Don't worry, I can give you the full research document.
Yeah.
We can find counter evidence for every evidence there is out there.
Oh my god, you're literally just saying any evidence that there is, we can find counter evidence, even though you don't have it.
You can.
Holy fucking shit! This is just anti-intellectualism. Holy fucking shit! I cannot believe I'm talking to you.
No, you don't have to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I get it. I mean, why talk to Redneck? He is a great guy that if you were in...
No, don't help me. Don't defend me. It's okay. Here's my problem. My problem is that every one of you come with these stats and figures and you haven't... first off, when I see Polar World sitting there giggling shit, a 17-year-old living at home with mom and dad talking about big world objects and how things are great. I remember at 17, I could do it. The world was big. I could fix everything. But then you get out in the real world, you realize that people die from fucking across the street. And then you realize there's people that are dying from the fucking flu every year. But all of a sudden, we take flu, you go and look at the CDC's actual current death rates with flu. Just take the death rates of last year and this year. And do you notice that there's a big increase? Not really. Maybe 60,000, but yet we lost 200,000+ to COVID. Yet, based on our national average of deaths, we're still right there in line. So, just forgive me for thinking common sense that a lot of these have comorbidities, and that matters. Sure, would I want COVID? But there's nothing we could have done to prevent it. So when you sit here and want to tell us that, oh, he's doing a horrible fucking job because the buck stops at him, well, guess what? Every fucking state required. Their role is to protect their citizens. And when they request the federal government to give them resources, he was fucking there and he gave them everything they asked for. Every one of them has said so. So when you see he hasn't done the best that he can do, that's where I'm just like, okay, whatever. Your stats can come back at me. And then your
stats can come back at me. Holy shit.
Come back at me and I'll counter them. It's fine.
I just sent them to you. Yeah, they're in the Whereby chat and they're in the Discord chat. Yeah, they're there.
And then what about Sweden, right? Sweden didn't do shit.
What about Sweden? Holy shit, it's literally whataboutism. It's literally whataboutism. Holy fuck.
So hey,
it helps create stats, right?
Okay.
It's actual.
I do want to. I do want to give this a Polar, and then probably Jury after, because I've seen Jury kind of been wanting to get in there. I'm giving it specifically to Polar because 17-year-old.
Redneck, it's funny that you have to come at my age instead of my arguments because you know you aren't making good arguments right now.
I'm not trying to make arguments.
wait.
I'm trying to give you some
What
some
the
fucking
heck?
life facts.
Oh my god.
Redneck,
Holy
Redneck,
fuck.
out of all, wait, Redneck, out of
There's
all the
nothing
people
you
that
can
I've,
do.
wait, Redneck, out of all the people that I met on this platform, I will definitely not be taking life facts from you. 1, 2, okay, to say that like the president can only do so can't do that much, I heavily disagree. Yes, all the blame is not on him, but I can specifically talk to specific things that he was told to and he just didn't do, or specific actions
Told
that he could have
to?
coordinated.
He's the president. Y'all fail to realize that.
Wait, the
Yeah,
president? Oh my god, wait, the
President.
president isn't told things to do? Like foreign policy experts aren't like advising the president? It's the whole point of having advisors.
He gets to make a decision. He gets to make his
yeah, and he made the
decision.
wrong ones. Yeah, that's the point. He gets to make them.
In
He
your
made the wrong
opinion.
ones.
In your opinion.
No, based on evidence. Based on the literal evidence that we have.
Redneck, tell that wrong opinion to the 125,000 dead Americans due to his inaction. Please.
There it is.
Yeah, the wrong
There
opinion
it
to them.
is.
Yeah.
They're all that's on his.
Oh yeah,
on his
there
head.
it is. Yeah, there it
It's not
is.
on the
Yeah,
state
there it is.
leadership.
Yeah, they're
It's
all
not on
dead.
the
Yeah, there
state.
it is.
It's
I'm
not
not
on
gonna
the
actually make a
county.
counter argument. Yeah,
Okay.
there it is.
Okay. I do want to bring this to other people. I want to give this to jury, and then last username, who's been way too talkative this stream. He's got to really quiet down. I'll throw it to him afterwards. So first, I'm going to throw it over to jury.
I think he's still talking. I think he might be muted. I don't.
Yeah,
or
no,
unless-
he's talking to his chat. He's talking to his chat.
Oh, he's talking to his own chat.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that this discussion is really stupid, and I think that it's kind of just bad for our society, to be totally honest with you, because we're not even connecting on issues that I think are realistic. Look, there are executive powers that could be done. There is a role of the executive government, and by and large, that is something that is to coordinate with the states. So look, I'm not here to put every single shred of this blame on Donald Trump. I've been on record as saying that I believe that Chris Cuomo is the worst governor in the country on this particular issue because of his lack of ability to coordinate with Bill de Blasio, because it didn't sneak up on them that New York City had the highest population density in America. It should be something that they should have known, and both of them were irresponsible in this particular regard. But at the end of the day, if I'm going to demotivate that responsibility, then the reverse has to be true. Look, there is fault for the federal government, and you can say that, look, the once in a century pandemic card doesn't come up all that often, and every once in a while you get surprised. But Donald Trump's lack of ability to coordinate with the states, because the thing he can control, he's a bomb thrower, not a bridge builder. Again, it's why he was elected. It's not a surprise. Thing he can't control, it's an election year. Nobody wants to coordinate. And by the time that a lot of these decisions were made, the train had left the station. In terms of how we now know this disease continues to spread, like there's not even a connection of facts here where we can really discuss realistically or in any kind of substantive way what the federal government's responsibility is and what the state's government's responsibility is. If we keep talking about things like we don't know where it came from or something like that, like then we're not really even looking at the role of the federal government here. Like, I love all of you guys, but like, Jesus fucking Christ, can we at least connect on with the battleground in which we're talking about?
Yes, I agree.
Hey, agreement. There you go.
So, Riley, you sent me a thing on nothing but trans rights and things.
It's down at the bottom. Yeah, it's a long list. Yeah, go to the bottom of it.
There you go. I thought we were
Sure,
about
you
to
did a
somehow
good job
drag
trying,
trans stuff into this. And
No, I mean, it's
like
accumulative. I just update it. It's everything I've basically debated on.
Gotcha.
So yeah, the
Jerry, I
bottom
got
is
a
all
question.
the Trump stuff.
I was gonna say there is nothing more that scares me than a COVID trans debate. It's just the concept of that happening is
I do not want to have it. Yeah, it sounds terrible.
It's a bizarre idea. I want to throw it over to the last username because he hasn't really had an opportunity to speak yet. So last username, do you have any thoughts on the conversation so far? Guess not. CTV.
So, jury, look, we've talked about, the ship, the governors, all of this stuff, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm comfortable that you understand the structure just as well as I do. So that being said,
Yeah.
how would you see that there would be something from the office of president that could have been done differently, or perhaps maybe something could have actually came from Congress to kind of help legislate some of these issues?
Well, number one, I don't think that anything's going to come out of Congress. It took the president of the United States going to the Walter Reed because he got COVID for them to even think about actually making a deal on COVID relief for a populace that is desperately in need of help, which is something that I think we can all agree on. Look, the issue is, if you are going to coordinate and you are going to make sure that the power of the president is filtered through the rest of the government from the state to the city level, then that means that you're on the same page when people like Bill de Blasio or Nancy Pelosi are talking about how you should go to movie theaters or tour through Chinatown. And if you're going to say that there is a role of the president of the United States of America, then at the end of the day, if they don't do the thing, he still gets the blame because the buck stops with the White House. I'm not saying it's an easy problem. I'll even go so far as to say that I don't think it's necessarily a solvable problem. But what I'm saying to you is at least fight on that. Don't fight on these like specious arguments that it just is what it is and it's a biblical flood. Let's look at what they could do. Let's look at what the plan was. Let's look at where they did or didn't execute.
Yeah, I did that when I mentioned international travel, right? I mean,
Justin,
stopping the flow of people ultimately stops the flow of virus, right? So I feel like that when he made that decision early on, and when he was criticized for making that exact same decision.
Wait, why didn't he stop travel completely then?
Like,
he didn't stop all travel to China.
So quick he just flew right on over. You know what I mean?
I'm actually on the side. The people that came back from China were American citizens. I don't think that
American patriotism.
Yeah, but I mean, they traveled there. They traveled there and traveled back, right? Like, is there any reason that they could?
They had to be repatriated.
I don't blame an American president for saying that American citizens can't come home. Now,
well, I'm just saying, like, if the full purpose is to stop all flow of COVID, right? Like, yeah, they're American citizens, but like, if you're really concerned about like keeping all COVID out, then it seems kind of arbitrary to say that, oh, because you're our citizens, you can come back even though you might have the virus all the same.
Because hold on,
what? Y'all want to stop the virus, right?
Wait. Okay, there was 4 people talking at once, plus laughter, so I could not hear any of the responses.
Laughter is not an argument.
So if you wanted to respond to that, can you raise your hand and I'll choose who's talked the least. I'll throw it over to Polar since they've talked the least recently.
I will say, yeah, so I don't know if I have the specifics to talk about the specific case, but if you're letting individuals come back from another country, I don't even know if Trump put in like mandatory quarantine mandates for these individuals, right? I think they were just allowed to just come back in, if I'm not wrong. So to say that like this is some form of like really good way to solve like the issue that was at hand, I think is not true, because there are things, for example, that a president can do or a governor can do, for example, that like here's a good example of this. I know I'm saying example a lot, but cruise ships. Does anyone remember what happened with the cruise ships? They would let the individuals come back on, but they were quarantined. Right, they were quarantined.
No, once literally parked like or was parked like about 3 blocks from my house here in Oakland.
Sure, that's so like the one aspect of this is that they quarantined those individuals. I don't know if they did those for the individuals coming back from China, and that's something that the federal government had power over.
Technically, I think the states and the cities probably had. I mean, that was something that was put in place. Now they are coordinating, and Polar World, you are right in that what the federal government can be blamed for is a lack of contact tracing, and that's something where if you look at where I believe going forward, and that might be a good rubric that we can guide this conversation on, is going forward. Let's imagine we have another once in a century pandemic in 2 years or in 5 years. What would we do differently? What I think we would do, which was in the George W. Bush plan, was robust contact tracing. And we did not have that staff in place. And yes, it does seem like it's federal bloat all the 99 years when the once in a century pandemic isn't happening. But good goddamn, will we have liked it in place when the once in a century pandemic did happen about 9 months ago?
So I'm for having
I'm
that
so
conversation.
pumped that point was so good no one talked.
No, I'm with you. I just was kind of being patient with everybody else. So how do you think we should go forward? Because for me, it certainly seems like, especially with like say what we've been doing down here in the Southeast with hurricane routes, right? Whenever that big hurricane came through, we didn't have an exact plan. The signs were kind of falling down. Now we've got a lot more signs up. They've opened up the roads. made it very evident which roads, lanes to travel, out of the direction of, etc. So how do we go about setting up that framework of control inside the country to limit the amount of people? Because it certainly seems to me, with what I saw up in the mountains of North Carolina, that it's kind of already there. So then more of a willingness to go ahead and slap down the all stop, travel is something I think people would be definitely a lot more open to from the start than what they were at this present time, because of the distrust that has been mounting between government and the people for a while. And it makes the people very hesitant to trust the government in general whenever these types of things come up. So for me, I would have to take the issue further back into American history to kind of really fully understand why the people's reaction to the president was what it was versus what it could have been if we didn't have all that mistrust between the people and the government.
I think CTV actually does bring up an interesting point. This is kind of a fatal flaw of like any government, right? Individuals will claim that the government is doing something bad, right? Like, or that they should shrink in the government shrinks, right? And when the government doesn't act, individuals blame it even further on the government, right? This is something that's been happening with a lot of states as of recent. It's kind of a paradox in this sense. CTV, like, there's this seems to be some sort of like cycle that like individually goes on, and honestly, the mistrust of the government, I would say, is because of the inaction of the government due to individuals who talk about how government action is bad.
Do you think that is specifically rooted with the Controlled Substance Act and the war on drugs, like I do?
To what extent? Do we want to go into specifics a little bit more about
Creating mistrust of government. I mean, that right there is one specific instance that I can point to, and I don't think that anybody here can argue against the effects of the war on drugs and the negative things that have happened, right? So right there is one very specific thing that I would say created a huge amount of distrust between the people and the government. And now we're 50 years into this thing, and then we have this happen. So now people are like, well, the government should have been doing this. And it's like, well, did you really trust the government to begin with?
Hold on.
Before this goes any further, I'm going to do something that's really risky, and I'm going to give this over to my co-moderator, Mr. Geek, because I desperately need to use the bathroom. So everybody be on their best behavior. I'll put you in detention. Okay, I'll be right back.
So CTV, I think you do bring up an interesting point. Sometimes I completely feel that these forms of like government action are harmful. Like the government doing these things, as you mentioned, are harmful. But I do think sometimes government inaction.
Polar, your mic is.
Oh, is it a little unsensitive or is it too loud?
Oh,
no. You can goose it. You're a little quiet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that should be a little better.
You're great
right?
now. You're great now.
Yeah. Sorry, I just forgot. My gain was too low.
Yeah, the noise thing was catching you in and out. So.
Yeah. Sorry. So you do bring up a good example, but in examples like these, where pandemics are going on and where probably better forms of like government interference in this aspect are valuable, this kind of creates that paradox that I refer to, right? So the government isn't acting in the way that it should. Now people distrust the government. They make the government weaker. So the next time that we have another one of these pandemics, individuals may do the same exact thing, and it may be another cycle. But you do bring up another example where these forms of government interference are negative. I'm never going to say that all forms of government interference are positive, but this is one of those cases that makes a big difference in what a state should do next.
Paul, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
If the vaccine came out tomorrow, are you taking it?
It depends. Honestly, I haven't looked into like well enough whether I'll end up taking it or not. For me, there may be a reason to, because I do have
it's science-based, right?
Well, it depends. One, there's specific, like, there may be specific issues with it that I may not be the best, like. Wait. I don't know enough about the vaccine, Redneck. How am I supposed to make a decision on this?
Well, I mean, O'Reilly,
right now on tests that are available are like very skeptic, right? Like all prevailing evidence about like the tests that they're rolling out right now at the last minute, and trying to prepare for the election, like people everywhere, like experts everywhere are like clamoring over the fact that this is like very poorly managed, and you get tons of like very weird like a lot of varieties of results, right? That show that they're not all that reliable, right? So I mean, like right now, there's not like a lot of credibility on the government side for how they're handling this.
That's exactly why you have people not wearing masks. That's exactly why you have people out there saying, "I'm not going to shut down." That's exactly why we're America. People.
Wait. Are you literally saying that because the government is untrustworthy, that exempts them from liability on this, or that exempts them from liability? Is that what you're actually arguing? I have to know.
Riley, slow your trigger down.
Oh, trust me. No, I'm just so excited because I really need to hear you say that because the government has done things wrong before, that exempts them from liability. I really want you to make that conclusion.
I asked you a simple question. Would you take it? And you said, well, there's a whole bunch of different
Yeah,
things.
because the government has fucked up a ton.
I literally turned that fucking mirror back at you and says, that's exactly my answers for every fucking question y'all been beating me up for the past.
So you are literally arguing that because the government has colossally fucked up, that exempts them from the responsibility of actually being able to do things right. That's literally what you're saying right now. Holy fuck. Because they fucked up, they deserve to fuck up more. Because they fucked up, they deserve to fuck up more. That's what you're arguing.
Okay, chill. It's okay. I caught you. I literally just proved
you got me. Oh yeah, you got me. You got me good. You got me real good. Yeah, you got me real darn good.
If you're unwilling to take it, then you're not believing in the science either. So
no, trust me. No, I'm believing in science. Yeah, the government fucked up. That doesn't exempt them from liability.
So, Redneck, I'm talking about. That's not the point that I'm specifically trying to make.
Literally the point, guys.
No. Hey,
Redneck, I'm not sure if you know how to make an argument, dude. I'm really not sure if you know how to do this. I'm really like actually worried about you.
So am I. But Redneck, the paradox that I'm trying to demonstrate is the one that you just demonstrated, right? What I'm saying is for example, government misstepping, right, in your head would allow, for example, to shrink the size of government in this aspect, right? But when we go to the next example, right, like as Riley mentioned, where even the government may have fucked up, that doesn't necessarily void them of all responsibilities in the future. But you're making that argument that should be happening. That the fact that they fucked up now, meaning that they should be avoided this responsibility.
No, brother. What I'm trying to tell you is you guys are all. I'm physically the oldest one here. So yes, I'm anecdotal.
You're the oldest one. Holy shit! What's this fucking argument? You're the oldest one here, so you automatically are more.
I don't know. If you would have let the man finish talking, he probably could have said it.
Damn, what is this? What is this argument? What is this argument?
Riley, you don't stop, do you? There's not even a.
I mean, like, if you're gonna make a bad argument, I'm gonna call it out. Yeah, if you make a bad argument, like saying that because you're older, that you know better, then I'm gonna respond to it.
Okay. Stop. Redneck, you can answer after that. I want to hear from Justin.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not a boomer. I'm a Gen Xer, but I was saying my life experiences give me a different perspective about government. And also by being a disabled veteran that was disabled by the government with a vaccine/medication.
I thought conservatives
I asked y'all specifically, would the vaccine's available today, would you take it? And y'all both paused and says, well, I don't know. There's, and you immediately showed the same thing that I just got through showing and most other conservatives have been saying about this whole virus. And if we don't know the facts, let us make our own decisions. Yes, we respect people that want to do what they want to do, but you got to have at least a good faith argument back at me and say, oh, I was really just trying to understand where you're coming from. And if you're unwilling to do what's out there that's science proven and it may not work and it may work, then what do you expect me to do? You guys are literally two-faced.
All right, here's literally the difference between you and I is because like you're arguing about like from a personal perspective. I'm arguing what the president of the United States should be fucking doing. All right, I'm sorry if I don't care what you and your personal capacity do. You can go out and do whatever the fuck you want. I don't really care, right? But when we're talking about what the president of the goddamn United States does, that affects literally everyone's life here. Yeah, I care about it. I care about it a lot actually.
That's his job. His job is to allow us to continue to both do what the fuck we want to do.
His job is to make sure that we don't fucking die in a pandemic.
Yeah, that is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Nobody can. It's a fucking
Redneck. Redneck. Wait. CCTV. Hold up. So Redneck, the difference between like the vaccine and these other forms of precautions.
I thought that was a thing.
Oh, was jury next?
I swear that was a thing.
Yeah. Jury, you're next.
Okay,
yep.
I'm sorry.
And at some point, we got to get back to last username, right? I mean,
well, the thing is, I keep trying to give him opportunities, but he's talking to his chat, so he can't hear us.
He's just down there Rush Limbauing to his audience. He's just one micing it.
Maybe if we just keep talking about him for just about 10 more seconds, right?
Yeah,
maybe only saying last username's name, just only talking about last username.
His chat will catch up.
Last username is the bomb.
He's just like
he's turning me into. He's making me turn into an Ancon.
They're telling me that I can't talk.
He's turning me into an Ancon. I'm scared.
I can see it. Man. Last username is my favorite communist.
What is he doing right now?
I don't even
know. Does he have us muted? He must have us muted.
Yeah, look. All right. Hey, Redneck, to answer your question, if the vaccine came out today, I would take it immediately because ultimately I'm really not putting my faith in the federal government. I'm putting my faith in Big Pharma and the fact that they just got a gigantic, massive federal bailout to produce stuff faster, not necessarily at the cost of the science, but more at the cost of the financial risk that normally comes along with the development of the vaccine. The concept of Operation Warp Speed is actually fascinating in that it really is not cutting down any of the time it takes to develop a vaccine. It's cutting down the time it normally takes in a development cycle to make sure that things are financially viable for them. But by the government pre-buying samples of it,
you're talking about the death insurance. You're talking about that death insurance for the side effects.
Wait, what was that?
It's basically a death insurance for the side effects. The federal government helped remove that liability.
Really, it's not even a death insurance for the side effects. It's a liability insurance for it not working. With the concept of Operation Warp Speed is they are pre-buying it at risk, which is not at scientific risk. This is Dr. Fauci's words, not at scientific risk, not at health risk, but at financial risk. That the government basically said, we're buying like you give us your best, right? Your best guess at this, and then test it. If it is not financially, or it does not come out as being effective and it is not FDA approved, the government still pays for it. So basically that's why they're able to go as fast as they're able to go. And we're probably going to get an FDA approval on vaccines from Pfizer, is probably the most likely one, within the next couple of weeks or so. So if I had a shot to take that vaccine in 2 weeks, yes, indeed, I would take it. The larger issue with the trust between the government is something that I do think is a real issue. If we really look at whether or not the power of the federal government exists at the kind of level that we would like it to, then yes, it does mean that there needs to be a connection, which is why I've said before that the person who programmed the simulation that we are living in, that decided to put the once in a century pandemic in the same year as an election, is a sick fucker.
Justin, can I ask you a question to counter that?
Sure.
So do you think
the person who programmed the simulation? Sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, do you think that the same skepticism though that people have about taking a vaccine that's generated underneath this Trump's leadership can be considered the same for those that don't want to be told what they can and can't do and don't want to be told? I mean, isn't it the same on both sides? Wouldn't we be a lot safer if everybody agreed?
I don't want to get into a both sides thing. Here's what I will say. I think that anti-vax stuff is often overblown, and I don't think that any anti-vax arguments that are made about this particular vaccine are any different than the anti-vax arguments that are made about other vaccines. By and large, at least from what we know right now, I do believe that there is a lack of trust between the federal government and the people. I do believe that we have a very, very polarized society, and specifically in these kinds of arguments, we are focusing on federal issues when ultimately a lot of things are local, a lot of things are personal.
State, right?
So
yeah.
So from to your question, do I understand where there is skepticism? Yes. Does it frustrate the shit out of me? Do I wish that we were able to live in a world where at the very minimum in a once in a century pandemic that we were able to look out for each other? Yes. That really, really, really does frustrate me. And it's what's frustrated me about this entire conversation.
So I would also like to add on to Justin's point. That's why I would like to say at least every criticism that I've levied against President Trump has been something that he could have done, not necessarily on the state's behalf. So I completely get, like, a lot of, for example, when it comes to pandemic response is put into the hands of the state. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. That's why whenever a president does something on a federal level, it's important because it's one of the only few actions that he may be able to, or he or she may be able to do. So that's why these criticisms are levied at specific things that he could have done rather than just like, oh, Orange Man bad, Orange Man did this, and bad.
Was that uninterrupted silence?
I
Is
know.
that what just happened?
Holy crap.
Wow. You know, this is a great opportunity to go into the next topic. So everybody's going to get ending statements. You're going to get 1 minute to say your final thoughts on this uninterrupted. I'm going to start in the top left-hand corner with Riley.
You should maybe start with last username. He's actually listening.
He's listening now? Last
Yeah,
username.
I was actually curious about that.
Last username. We were trying to get your attention for like a half hour.
I know. Sorry, I turned the volume down, and I thought I would hear if someone mentioned me, but I didn't hear it.
Oh no, we were singing you, bro.
We were like singing at one point.
Go ahead, sum all this shit up for us.
Okay. So you can go first.
What can I say about this? It seems to me, first of all, like what I want to know is why did the U.S. have a fairly high death rate per capita of COVID-19. Not the highest in the world, but among the highest. Seems like it should be high, a little high for such a developed country. That's really kind of the thing, the main metric that we care about. And I've never, and all the people who have complained about, what Trump did wrong, this huge list of things that he did wrong, I've never really heard here's why that caused all these deaths. Why that caused the death rate to be so high? What are the things that actually caused that? That's what I want to know. Now, I mean, I guess that's a different question than what we're being asked here. The question is, did Trump? How did Trump handle this? And that's not necessarily the same question as what were the most important things that went wrong with the government's handling of it. But I mean, the latter question seems more important to me if we're trying to figure out, how should we handle this the next time? How should we change the government to handle this next time? Although I guess if you're just trying to figure out is Trump, worth voting for again, then I guess maybe you do need to just look at what he did. But I don't know. I'd love if someone else could answer that question though in their closing. What were the factors that actually went wrong the most?
Okay. Next, I'm going to throw it over to Riley.
Cool. I do well to remind everyone what the question was. The question isn't what caused the coronavirus pandemic. The question isn't who brought it out to be. The question was, did Trump handle the COVID-19 crisis properly? That's the question. Regardless of how we ended up here, that is the question we're answering. All right. We know that Trump knew about the virus as early as March. All right. Because he said so later on. He said that he knew about the severity and he downplayed it intentionally. Yet despite having this knowledge, he ignored the NSC guidelines on what to do. He eliminated the CDC as the leader for data collection and analysis surrounding the pandemic. And he lied about the nature of the pandemic so much that studies now show that he is the largest driver of misinformation surrounding this in the world. As a consequence, we now have the highest unemployment in our country's history, one of the largest observed case fatality ratios of any country in the world, and one of the highest death rates of over 100,000 citizens out of any country in the world. And obviously, things have gotten so bad that now I am going to be very interested to see how conservatives react to the fact that Trump boyo now has the virus. No, Trump did not handle the pandemic properly. And maybe this is the reason why I find this so fiery of a conversation, is because I find any opinion to the contrary laughable.
Okay, next I'm going to throw it over to Jury.
No, I don't think that he connected with his governors. I don't think that he's a bridge builder. And I think that by and large, in the elements that the office of the president could connect with his populace, it is largely symbolic. I think that the damage that was done to what he could have done was largely done before this. And it's the reason why he got elected. So at the end of the day, I don't know whether or not the idea that Donald Trump had issued a national mask mandate, if that even would have done anything. But we can only look at this in one vector. The buck stops there. Did he operate under the 1918 playbook that George W. Bush put in? No. Did he coordinate appropriately with his Democratic governors that hate him? No. But is that blame on the Democratic governors, or is that blame on him? Talk to Harry S. Truman and the buck stops with the White House. And that's just where it is. So the answer quite simply is no.
Okay, next I'm going to throw it over to CTV.
Well, I don't think any of us imagine that it's a perfect world. I don't imagine any of us imagine that there is a procedure written down for every single thing that could possibly happen in this world. Otherwise, everything would already be written, and what's the point of even trying, right? So that being said, I think given all of the information that this one person had access to, and the people's around him ability to be able to execute the man's wishes, and his limited power as only the head of the federal government and not the head of the state governments, and he had to work with these other individuals that obviously had their own agendas, that considering all of that information, that I believe that he did as well as he could. And I don't know that anybody else could have handled the situation better. And I haven't heard anybody say perhaps maybe somebody could have. So I just I am going to be on the side of understanding, because it's a really, really big thing that you're at the head of, and damn, some decisions got to be made along the way. And stopping the international travel and was still getting criticized for it was something that he did do. I felt like that was a really strong move, and that after that point, the federal government's ability to be able to help out really came down to the states and them helping out their people. So,
Okay, next I'm going to throw it over to Polar's World.
So yeah, I'll spend this time answering Ali's question because it is a good question. Why did the U.S. have a higher death rate comparative to the majority of other developed nations? So it looks like one of the most important things when it came to this virus was forms of social distancing, right? First wave social distancing was something that was really important when it came to decreasing the amount of contact between individuals and not overflowing hospitals. Other nations did a lot better of a job at this, and we see the harmful aspects of this when the second wave starts to hit. Nations don't engage in social distancing. For a more specific example, we can look at the case of Kentucky versus Tennessee, right? So on March 26th, Kentucky implemented social distancing policy, right, while Tennessee implemented their social distancing policy on March 31st, right? In Tennessee, had a twice as high rate of coronavirus compared to Kentucky, even though I think they were close-ish to size. The reason why the death rate ended up being so high in the U.S. was the fact that we ended up implementing social distancing policy way too late compared to when it was recommended. This made it a lot more difficult for contact tracing to happen because, one, it's very difficult to engage in large forms of contact tracing when you don't have them, and two, when it's already too late, because the best way to stop a pandemic is to nip it in the bud as early as possible. Early action is important action, and that's one of the reasons why we ended up failing so badly. Jory brings up a great point about how the federal government can only do so much. That's why this specific action of implementing earlier social distancing policy is extremely important, because it's one of the most important things that a nation can do.
Okay, next I'm going to throw it to Redneck as the final person before the next topic.
Orange Man bad, killed everybody in the world, and he's gonna die today or tomorrow. And then everybody will be free at last, and the oppressive nature of life will stop. No, that's not going to happen. People are going to continue to die. He's not going to die. He's going to come out of this, and it's going to be stronger, and it's going to piss you guys off even worse. So what I'd advise y'all to do is to quit backseat trying to statistically show that he's a fucking evil man when he runs things the way he runs a business. And you can say he runs them bad, but business is business. And if you don't open up if you don't open up America, because America was built off the freedoms of each of us being able to make our own decisions, not somebody else for us. If I want to morally make a decision to help you, my brother or sister out, that is up to me. But when it's mandated by the government, that's why you have opposition. That's why you have people running. That's why you have people not that's why you have people not wearing masks. That's why you have people out there not giving a fuck. That's why we're so divided, because of that core beliefs that it's up to us to make our decisions, not somebody else doing it for us. That's it.
Okay, we're going to go straight into the next topic, which is...
No, we're not.
Oh.
I have to intervene.
Wow.
Your dictatorship has lasted long enough.
No, it hasn't.
You suppressed ooh in chat, and
Look,
this is not acceptable.
Look, it's the bad emote. Look, it's a fish. It's a fish. Look, what is the point of ooh? The ooh emote is a pointless emote. It replaces the O in some circumstances, but we already have Omega lol. It's a dumb fish, okay, that is now banned from my chat. As you see all those O's, no fish, right? That's because they re-banned the ooh emote. Because the reason I didn't get partner on Twitch was because of those ooh emote terrorists. Yeah, I'm going there. Terrorists, okay? They engage in terror, okay? I feel this is... Because basically, you can call whatever you want terrorism these days. So that's their terrorist, too. Everybody's a terrorist. The ooh emote poster, everybody I don't like is a terrorist. That's how it works. So, that's why it is banned from chat. So, no one post it. Stop posting it. You're not allowed to. It'll hurt my feelings, so don't do it. Is that all you wanted to say, Geek?
No.
What else?
Support the ooh resistance, subscribe to the Landbird. That's it.
Okay.
I rest my case.
If there's ever been a day I don't want you to subscribe, it's today. Because if we get enough subs, then I have to bring the emote back. And I don't want it back, so please don't subscribe today. Okay? Good. Fuck all of you. Anyway. Let's go to the next topic. What do you think of what Trump said during the debate? It's a pretty straightforward question. Trump and Biden had a debate.
A curd is a curd.
And he said words. What is your opinion on the... What is your opinion
Wait,
on the
everything? Just what everything Trump said, or is there one?
Well, just anything that stuck out. If you think he had a good
occurred.
performance, if you agree with the things he said, if you disagree with the things he said, just generally about the debate.
Are we
And
doing
his
statements or?
Yeah, we're gonna
Like,
be going into opening statements. Yes.
Okay.
Just like the last topic, we have a 1 minute opening statement. Okay, we're gonna start in the top left-hand corner with Riley.
Occurred is occurred.
Yeah, I don't know. I probably won't be as fiery. It's an opinion piece. Yeah. So Trump to start interrupted Biden and the moderator collectively 128 times, according to like reputable sources. Pretty childish, if you ask me. Additionally, at the debate, Trump outright refused to announce the white supremacist group, the Proud Boys. He said, "Proud Boys, stand back and stand by." Within minutes, members of the groups were posting in private social media channels, calling the president's comments historic. And one channel decided the Proud Boys on Telegram, a private messaging app, group members called the president's comment a tacit endorment of their violent tactics. And another, a member commented that the group was already seeing a spike in new recruits. Republicans have been distancing themselves from Trump in the aftermath, and even though he tried walking it back the day after, he basically said it in the same like, "Oh yeah, the Proud Boys, you're not." I don't endorse, but the Antifa now they really need to fucking back off, right? Which is basically just echoing how he treated Charlottesville in 2017, where he said that the people who literally murdered someone there were fine people, but that anyone else, that the radical left, he did not have kind words for them. So yeah, I don't know. Like basically, if you're a white supremacist, you probably loved it, and otherwise, yeah, I think it was pretty laughable. But I don't know. That's my opinion.
Look, I specifically said not to subscribe. And now you have all engaged in the practice of subscribing, and I find this to be insulting to my character. You've all slapped me in the face, and I find this highly disrespectful. And I'm going to again request for you to stop subscribing for that fish, okay? Go take that money instead and donate it to an orphanage, okay? You could either get a fish emote or save an orphan. Make the decision and make it wisely, please. Next is Shuri.
Widely too, though, as far as you can. I believe that Donald Trump rhetorically was far too aggressive. I believe that he gave cover to what I thought was a very low energy performance by Joe Biden. I felt that he interrupted too much and disrupted the flow of the entire conversation that undermined his argument. I felt that he was bad in layman's terms. I think that he got outfoxed by Joe Biden on that specific Proud Boys comment because he decided to go out to the audience like he was an improv troupe and ask who he should endorse. Joe Biden was the one who said Proud Boys, and so then he choked on it and had to explain it away for the next 24 hours. Fun fact, I am friends with the inspiration for the Proud Boys, the person that Gavin McInnes was making fun of during his podcast because he went to too much musical theater, including the Aladdin musical and the song Proud of Your Boy, for which the group is named.
So what Jury just said is basically he is a proud boy. We're going to go next to CTV.
No, you better knock that shit off, Dylan. I swear to God.
So Proud Boy Jury was letting us know about how the inner workings of that particular organization are. And no, I'm just saying, I can't put that on you. But that debate was it was, you know what? I'll tell you, what? Here we go. I'm going to wrap this up real quick. So earlier this week, I had two dogs get into a fight, right? A pit bull and an Australian cattle dog, right? Some of the bitches got me on my hand right here, right? Hurt like a son of a bitch. And the reason that I jumped in the middle of that was because I didn't want those two dogs hurting each other. And that's exactly why I probably would have stopped that debate early on, because it was just pointless. It had nothing more than, say, entertainment value if you like watching that sort of thing. And I didn't feel like it was informational or professional to the office of the President of the United States, honestly. And yeah, so I would have been breaking that fight up.
Okay, comparing. Okay, which one was the pit bull though?
What do you mean?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Okay. Next, I'm gonna throw it over to Polar.
So my thoughts on the debate was that, honestly, I don't know what this was meant for. I honestly don't even know what presidential debates are meant for anymore. It seems like this is I personally, I didn't even know what was going on. I had to review it multiple times. It seems like the pivoting was a large issue that I had with it. Other presidents in the past do pivots. This is a pretty common thing in a lot of presidential debates, but at least they were clean. Now it's literally just pivoting from point to point to point to point to point to point, and I honestly have trouble keeping up. I honestly think that Biden did a better job, not because he was like rhetorically superior, but because Trump came off as way too aggressive, much more aggressive than usual, and that kind of hurt his position in this debate. Aggression is very useful in these sorts of debates, but I think in this specific case, it was just way too much. It made him look insecure. It made him look kind of like unhinged. And with all the pivoting going on, he didn't seem confident at all either. I think there were some highlights in the debates. My personal favorite was the Hunter Beau Biden comparison with the cocaine in the military. I thought that was Biden's best moment in the debate. But I don't really think people are watching these debates for the sake of like deciding who's going to be their president. I don't think this really changed anyone's mind, other than the fact that Trump had some really yikesy quotes. And I should probably rephrase that and say I don't think anyone came over to Trump's side in this debate.
Okay, I'm gonna throw it over to last username.
Yeah, so I'm pretty much with Justin and many other people. On this, I think Trump did the terrible rhetorical strategy. He was just way too aggressive, and he came off as sounding desperate, and he was just disorienting the audience, and I think people are just going to perceive him as basically just sabotaging the debate out of desperation. What he should have done was just hold back a little and let Joe Biden talk, and wait for Joe Biden to say something that he could then attack. Get Joe Biden to say stupid things instead of just like trampling all over him, bulldozing the thing, and not letting him get a word in, because it didn't work. As for the whole white supremacy thing, I just want to say I don't give a fuck. I hate having to defend Trump. I don't even call it defending Trump. It irritates me so much when people have so much about him to criticize, and yet they latch on to like things that are obviously not true to criticize, instead of all the obvious things that they could criticize. So I heard it. I listened to this very closely, and he did, when he was asked, would you condemn white supremacy? He's like, yeah, sure. Of course I'll do that. But I think Antifa was more like, and he didn't tell when he said Proud Boys stand, like, so Chris Wallace asked him, will you tell these groups to stand down? And then he said, Proud Boys, oh yeah, stand back, stand by. I think he was probably meant to say stand down, just like Chris Wallace asked him to, and he just babbled it out because he wanted to say something else instead. I really, really doubt he was giving marching orders to the Proud Boys. He may not even know who the Proud Boys were, which is what he claimed. It wouldn't surprise me. But I don't know. Like I say, I don't really care that much, except that it really irritates me when I hear people just making shit up. Okay, there.
Okay, next is going to be Redneck.
This man has lived his life trolling the media to do what he wants and playing these games. And he did the same thing in the debate that he did 2016. He pushes buttons, he says things and sets bars super high so that expectations could be set super low. And it was a fuck show. I mean, it was right after the first 3 minutes, we knew it was going to be a fight. So the whole Riley's, all the comments about racism in Charlottesville and stuff, I would gladly go point by point on that bullshit, because what you spewed was about 45 seconds of lies that New York Times and your Washington Post can't defend either. So, I know your earlier points were New York Times and Washington Post stuff, but all of your assumptive racist, like, I agree with last username. If y'all got to get off the race, because you got to. That's not, you could get him on some other shit. You really can. I'm better, and he is going to come back from this shit. I think the COVID was all a setup after the debate. I think this was all part of the game.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. You think he fake COVID, Redneck?
Well, let me go right into it.
Holy shit. You're saying that he faked COVID? What the fuck? What's this random comment? You're talking about me explaining things. You want to explain something? You want to explain that comment?
Oh, I think I told you earlier, right before. I said this to you before we even came on.
Well, no. I'm sorry. Maybe I misheard you then. Please
You think he
explain it.
faked COVID?
No, I said there's no downside to this COVID. It plays right into the whole. It plays into this.
Wait,
Everything plays in.
No. Wait. Do you think, and yes or no, do you think that either he is lying about COVID or he got it on purpose?
I think he got it on purpose.
Oh my god.
All right, man.
Wow.
Okay.
Can I make a meme real quick?
Hold on. Riley,
Nick, why would he do that?
Riley, do you remember earlier when I told you that we needed to wait? Do you remember?
I think I'm done. I don't have any more questions for him. I don't have any more questions for him.
Redneck, look, I support you and your service to our country too much to go into this any further because that is one of the dumbest fucking things I have ever heard in my entire life. Like,
look how much time it takes off for y'all to fucking go through. Look how y'all's brains twisted around just the thought of that being it's not like it hasn't been said already by some left people. I literally have seen this by the left today and yesterday. It's fucking hilarious.
I have engaged with you in good faith this entire time. I have looked at the best.
And I have too.
All I'm saying is this. Strategically, the idea that Donald Trump would fake getting COVID for whatever reason, either the election or debates or whatever else you want to put on the other side of it. And I've seen to be fair, you're the first person I've heard on the right who's made this argument. I've seen this on the left for the last 24 hours.
Right. That's
wait, Justin. Actually, no. He's just memeing right now. He's just completely memeing. He told me before the debate started that actually when he smiles, he's just memeing. He doesn't actually mean any of it. That's why. That's the only reason he's saying any of this. He's just memeing on us. Because there's no way that any reasonable person could actually make this argument in like good sanity. I mean, no, he's just memeing on this. I get it. Listen, Redneck, I get you. You're smiling. I see it. Don't worry. We all understand you right now. We know that you're just like completely wrong and lying to us.
I guess maybe my eyesight doesn't have it so much with my mind.
No, I mean.
Right.
It was funny. The point I was making is that for the past 24 hours, that's the story that the left is like literally either he gave it to himself and he's going to get this miraculous drug to cure himself and then we're fucked. He's going to win the election, or oh my God, he was such a fucking idiot and he was so explosive that he just killed himself. Okay. I mean, I've watched the dichotomy on both sides of this, and I just wanted to come back and show with the same thing to see how reaction.
Honestly, this is just such a stupid thing to talk about. This is some like this is some
You're
like
making that point.
wait. This is some like divine right of kings shit, like some like ancient. Oh my god! But more importantly, let's get back to that debate. Okay, I'm interested to hear what. I'll ask Redneck this. Redneck, you talk about how he's trolling the media, right, by saying these kinds of things. Do you think that he could troll the media with anything?
He has trolled the media with a lot of things.
So, you think he could like push it further? Like right now, it sounded kind of cringe. I don't actually even care about the specific comment anymore. But like this whole aspect about Trump trolling the media, would there be anything that he could say or that he would say that would like make you think that he maybe was not trolling?
So if you've been following him or have listened to his stuff and go all the way back to his interviews in the 80s when he actually was giving policy positions doing anything, you can kind of get an idea where his core values are. And so when you hear him speak today, a lot of you guys don't have that history because you haven't seen how he's interacted with media and in movies and his perceptions.
Yeah. When he was taking out full page ads shitting on Reagan.
Yes.
And when he wasn't the president.
Well,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When he wasn't the president of the United States.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Now that he's president of the United States, he still operates with that in one hand and still does his job on the other.
So
he's still the same guy.
So he could say anything, right? He could say anything that, like,
he could troll to get his back. So where do you want to get
trolling? This is some high key trolling. Damn, this is some 4D jest shit. 4D jest shit right here.
That's what I'm saying, Riley. Like, I'm trying to figure out, like, where is the extent of what's trolling and what's not? Because I don't actually know if I care about what he's saying as much, this specific comment. But like, when does the trolling end and like his actual beliefs start?
And that, I think, is the biggest problem for all of y'all to understand.
So
you don't know when he
smiles. So can you actually answer it?
You don't know when he smiles. You don't know when he's smiling.
What the? Wait, so when he smiles, that he's not trolling?
I'm saying the people that voted for him understand him, but you guys clearly don't because this is what it is.
fuck?
So wait,
You
did
guys-
was it a good debate or not? Was it a good debate or not?
I said it was a fuck show. I said that first
Hey,
off.
hey, hey, all right, hold on. I want to get it. I do want to get it back. Can I ask last username a question just to follow up on what he said?
Sure.
Cool. So I do want to follow up on this because I mean, like, I think that there is a meaningful conversation to be had here about like the race comment, right? Do you think that there's a difference between saying that you're willing to do something and doing that thing?
Well, it depends what it is. In this
All right,
case,
if you say that you're
not really,
willing
no.
to, you don't think that there's a meaningful difference between saying that you're willing to denounce white supremacy and just denouncing it.
I think if it says, "Are you willing to condemn this?" and you say, "Sure," I'd say
But
you've
he didn't-
condemned it.
But he didn't say sure. He said, "I'm willing to."
Okay.
Like, do you think that
that's
there's
not
a
true.
meaningful
That'll do it
difference?
It does it for
That's
me.
not true.
I mean,
Hold on, no. He said he was willing to. Do you think that there? Like, I just want to ask you.
Yeah.
All right, let me rephrase the question. Why didn't he just say yes?
But he did. I mean, that's.
No,
said,
he
"Sure,
didn't.
I'm
Why
willing to
didn't
do
he?
that."
Like, literally, Biden's first word when he was asked if he condemned white supremacy was yes, and Trump's was not.
We
Why
said,
didn't he just do
He
that?
said, "Sure, I'm willing to do that." Right?
He said, "Sure, I'm willing to." Do you think that there's a? But that's why I'm bringing that back into. Do you think that there's a difference? Like, if I'm holding an apple, all right, hold on. If I'm
saying yes.
all right, hold on. All right, let's explore this. If I'm holding an apple and I say I'm willing to bite this apple, is that the same thing as me literally biting into the apple?
No, but biting into an apple is like we're just talking about saying something, expressing an idea, right?
Yeah.
You ask
There's
me
a
to
different.
express that idea. If you say yes, I'm willing to express that idea. You've effectively expressed the idea, as far as I'm concerned.
All right, fine.
Like,
All right,
what
I'll make
else
this more
would it mean?
concrete.
Why-
I'll make this more concrete then. Do you know what a speech action is?
No, what's a speech action?
Okay, a speech action is when both saying something is doing the thing that you are saying. It's the same thing as saying like. All right, so let's make it a different example. Do you think that saying that you are willing to marry someone and then literally saying I do at a wedding are the same thing?
No, but a wedding is not just an idea; it's a ceremony.
But
So
that's
it
what a
has sort of
speech
magical. Yeah, but this is not a like it was.
No, that's what this is.
Condemning white
This
supremacy
is
is
a
a
speech.
ceremony. It's
No,
like,
it's a speech action. Like by saying it, you are doing the thing that you are
like,
speaking.
is it a magic spell or something?
No, it's by saying you do something, you are expressing to the audience that you have a belief that you condemn white supremacy. It is a speech action. And also, Redneck, I see you laughing is
but
not an
he did
argument.
like if he says like what he said seemed like he was condemning white supremacy to me. Like
Then why didn't he just say, yes, I condemn white supremacy? Why didn't he
but
just
he
say
did
it?
say that.
No, he didn't.
He
He
said,
said,
yes,
I'm willing to. He said
God,
he's
you
willing
guys
to.
are so bad at this.
You
He
see, this
said
is
it.
like-
Chris Wallace the same question in 2016, and he condemned it outright. Just say what? How are you guys not up on this? Like, you
Sorry,
guys
no, I
follow
just
the right
like
thing
I
wrong.
really want. All right, fine. Maybe I'll express why
Thanks,
this is so
Just.
important.
Thanks.
So
right,
say
I'll-
it.
hell.
Come on.
All right, I'll express to you
I'm
why
here
this
on
is so
the
important.
second and third level part on this. Get on the at least the right wing level. She's pummeling you with this. Like, come on.
Well, I mean,
She ain't pummeling shit. She's fucking spouting lies that we know that we could just throw up videos and he's saying it.
He said he literally did it in 2016. He said, "I disavow the Ku Klux Klan."
He said I disavowed in 2016. He also said it back in fucking
Yeah,
2012.
jury.
There's like
Hold on,
there's like
jury.
a full
Jury.
there's like a full
Look,
video.
Hold on, look. I've got the whitehouse.gov pulled up right here with the quote, right? It says, they asked him, do you believe that white supremacist terrorists, right-wing organization or right-wing terrorists, these homegrown terrorists on that side of the spectrum are the problem, sir? And the president said, yeah, I do. I do believe that's a problem, right? So he
Talk
said
about
it.
material effects of
Right?
actions.
Oh, no,
Do y'all know
well,
what? Do y'all know what material
look,
effects
you know
are?
what- you see that? You see what happens whenever you just start talking and somebody's not done finished, right?
Yeah, because I know what your argument is. I get what your argument. Yeah, he later on said
So
that he
tell me how
condemns
I
white
feel now.
supremacy.
Tell me how
Amazing.
I feel. Tell me how I feel. How am I
I
feeling?
don't know how
right
you
now?
feel. I'm sure you're very hurt.
Okay.
Oh
to
my God.
be fair, I'd like to hear CTV finish his point.
So the point is that this he already disavowed this stuff, right? So it's almost like the only thing other than just looking at the conversation from an entertainment basis, it was just not a good presidential debate, right? And the things that you wish that he would disavow, he did, right? So ergo, there's that. Right.
Okay,
So
I can
we're-
respond to that.
it
Yeah,
was
I can
also
help
a
you. I
stupid
can,
question, right? Like, why was he asking to condemn white supremacy in the context? Like, I don't see what white
because
supremacy had to
because the
do
Proud
with
Boys
that.
look up to him like he's their fucking god.
But the question was about the
They're
riots.
not white supremacists.
And he was saying, will you tell the militia groups and the white supremacists to stand down? So those are two very different things. And I like if white supremacists are somehow involved in these riots, that does not. I mean,
well, then he could have
there's no
just said,
case
like,
was
if the
made for
question
that.
is, do you condemn white supremacy? That's the easiest softball in the world. Just say
They're
fucking
two
yes.
This is
separate
like a
fucking things.
non-sequitur question, right?
If he asks, if the moderator asks,
He
do you condemn
did.
white supremacy? The first question.
He said
No, he
sure.
didn't. He literally never
He said
said
sure.
yes. He never said the
he
word
said
yes.
Hold on,
sure.
Riley, look.
He said,
this is-
sure, I'm willing
hold on,
to.
Joey,
hold on.
okay,
Oh my
okay,
God.
okay. I'm gonna take some executive action here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the clip on my stream. So
Please, God,
everybody,
do.
because
Yeah, go for it.
So because there's some people in chat like, can we just see it? So I'm just gonna do that. I'm gonna mute you guys quick. So if you want to see me do it, go to my stream. I might act a boomer. It might take me a few minutes, but I'll be right back. Okay. Okay, guys, I'm taking you all on a journey. Okay, come with me, and you will see a Trump video on the internet. Okay, Trump Proud Boys. What was it? Question. Yeah, there we go. I think that should be it. Okay. Well, this is framed in a very certain way, but I want to see. Here it is. Okay.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
Are you
I'm willing
prepared to
do
specifically
that,
do it? Well, go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it. Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists
Who
and
would
right
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing. This is a left-wing problem.
White supremacist. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you gotta be
not
kidding.
militia. That's what his
It's an idea.
FBI director
Gentlemen,
said.
Well,
There's the clip. There's the magical clip that answers all of our questions. I'm gonna be right back. I hope they're not talking off stream because I want to hear all the spicy bits.
Like, Big D in the room. Y'all better calm down, right?
Yeah, I'm back.
So-
I played the clip.
All right, I just played it in my stream too. Yeah, he said, sure, I'm willing to. And then the moderator said, or no, he said, I'm sure I'm willing to, but the left wing should. And then he made a comment condemning left wing riots and all that. And then the moderator said, well, why don't you condemn them? Why don't you condemn them?
Okay, give me a name and I'll condemn them. And then
Yeah, and then the other
moderator
person said,
militia groups and white supremacists, and Joe Biden said Proud Boys. So he had like three different things. at the
yeah,
same
and then
time.
he
He
did
heard
not say
Proud
that he
Boys, and
condemned
he's
them.
like, okay,
He said
then
stand back and stand by.
Oh my God.
Oh my God is not an argument, my dude. I'm sorry.
This right here, literally the clip you guys just watched. Here's why Biden won the debate. And I didn't think he had a very, very good performance at all. But rhetorically, this is the moment that defined what we have talked about the most since. Trump made a tremendous rhetorical error in which, again, like an improv troupe, he was looking for a suggestion from the audience. Joe Biden said, Proud Boys, going from what Chris Wallace asked for, the macro militias and white supremacists. You can't go to militias.org and sign up. You can't go to whitesupremacist.org and sign up
Hit that
to
website.
the very micro Proud Boys, at which point Trump choked and thought, well, right, do I disavow them? Do I say that they should stand down? And so he went with the rhetorically goofy stand back and stand by, which led him to opened up to all the criticism that came since, and had him explain it for the next 24 hours. There's no way that you can watch that like we saw. And rhetorically, even if you're a supporter of President Trump and say that that was a good answer, if he wanted to just say, I disavow militias and white supremacy, he could have said that. But he opened himself up. He rolled over with his soft underbelly and asked for someone to poke it. And Joe Biden, no matter how much of a sundown you think that his mental state is in, had the ability to mumble Proud Boys, and he won that exchange. That's just that.
I think Joey brings up a really good point. Like, when it comes to debates, it seems like optically and the effect that it has on the audience is what matters more than like the words that they're actually saying. This has seemed to be extremely optically bad for not only the Trump campaign, but Trump going forward. even if he necessarily like said this, right? It doesn't necessarily matter what he says, but the effect that it has on the people that are watching. And I think Jerry brings up a great point about that. That's what tends to matter a lot more.
Well, I mean, if you want to, like, I don't think it was a good answer. Like, I think it's going to have a bad effect for him. But if you really care about what he actually meant and what's actually going on in his head, I don't see any reason to think.
So I'm trying to argue what he meant in his heart. I don't care what he meant in his heart. But like, yeah, if you were a white supremacist and you saw this and you loved it.
If the question is how are people going to interpret it? Yeah, well, it's obvious that people are going to misinterpret, I'm sure.
Well, hold on. How do you know it's a misinterpretation?
That's what you're saying. You're saying
no. I'm telling you how different people will interpret it. There's no way to know.
Going to think. How do you know?
Oh, because there are sources that tell us. I'm able to look at. No, I'm not a white supremacist. I have sources telling me what they think.
So
that's anecdotal.
No, it's not. Wait, hold on. Do you know what anecdotal evidence is? Holy shit! Hold on.
I'm told all the time I can't use it.
Wait, hold on. Yeah. Please define to me what anecdotal evidence is. Yeah, please tell me what anecdotal evidence is. Yeah, I'm so interested in
no,
tell me what it is. Tell me what it is. Personal experience. So me citing credible sources is anecdotal evidence. Are you fucking serious?
You just
I said sources. I literally said citable sources. Holy shit! I'm sorry. You either have a speech impediment or a mental impediment. I'm sorry. I don't know what to. I do
have a mental disorder. You want to make fun of it?
No, I don't. Sorry.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
So so I think LU. So LU. Sadly, whenever we watch a debate or a president's on a debate, it doesn't necessarily matter what they meant. It's the effect that it has on the audience.
That's what we are arguing about, right?
Yeah. So like,
I don't deny that.
Sure, yeah.
What people will think he meant is something worse. I'm just saying, I don't see any reason to think that what he actually meant was I won't condemn white supremacists. I think what he meant was he wanted to condemn white supremacists.
Yeah. So
he wanted to point out that Antifa was a bigger problem.
Don't you think this is like speculative though? Like I don't see how it's relevant.
So I think it's the simplest explanation for what I heard there.
So I'm gonna align with Riley on this. I don't think it's relevant in the sense of how he performed in the debate. So even if we can speculate on what he actually meant, like LU, you already addressed this. Like it would be irrelevant what he actually meant.
I already said he did horrible in the debate.
Yeah. I guess that's the consensus.
Yeah. So we're now we're arguing language and communication, and you posed a pretty interesting question a minute ago about interpretation, right? I think it's pretty evident, even just across as few people as we have here on this panel, that there's definitely some language barriers, even though we're all speaking the same language, right? Dialect, parts of the country where you grew up, the words and understandings of words. I mean, these are all things that actually matter. And if you want to see negativity, then you will see negativity. But if you choose to see something different and exercise your free will to do so and remove the possible filters that may be skewing the information that's coming in, then you, my friend, would have changed your perspective.
So do you think that it's fine that a lot of white supremacists took this as an approval of like violent actions that they've done? Like, do you think that's fine?
I mean, I don't think that's his problem.
How do you wait, hold on. I have to clarify this. So you don't think that public figures are responsible for the material effects of the things that they say?
Not all of them. I mean, if people are if they say something and people are going out of their way to misinterpret and twist it into something else.
Wait. Oh, like misinterpret. This is like Proud Boys are like everywhere taking this as like a outright approval of everything that they've done.
Of course they are, because that's what
you don't think that you think that the president is completely blameless in that? You think he's completely blameless?
Yeah.
That is a strong opinion. All right, hold on. Do you know what stochastic terrorism is? I just have to clarify this. Do you know what stochastic terrorism is?
Do you know what 180 proof means? That means it's strong.
Yeah. No, I'm just interested. No, I have to explore this because like this is like literally you're making the argument that like people aren't responsible for the things that they say, even if they have like such negative material effects.
That in general.
You're not making this. So why are you making the distinction here? Like, what's the distinction? What's the distinction?
In this case, I think what he said was, I mean, while it could have been slightly clear, it was not. You have to really go out of your way to interpret it as something nefarious.
Everyone is interpreting it like this. This is the headline of every major news outlet. So how could you say that? You have to go out of your way to interpret.
And that's how people. So of course.
Wait. So is this just fake? Is this just a fake news argument now?
Okay. No,
I have to verify. Like, is this?
Wait. But I'm the moderator.
Okay.
And I didn't hear anything last username said. I didn't hear it really. Well, like the later parts of it, because I didn't feel like he got to finish his point, so I wanted to throw back the last username so you can get an answer on that, so he can clarify.
I think if half the country is determined to misinterpret anything you say or interpret whatever you say in the most nefarious way plausible, then you can't really be held responsible for that. I think you have to put the blame on the people who are deliberately misinterpreting you and spreading those misinterpretations around.
Even if he literally didn't say yes, that he condemns white supremacy.
That's the point that I think that's really important. If he had just clearly said yes, do you also think that people would just completely misinterpret it?
Oh yeah, sure. They'll do anything.
Okay, no. Okay, wow. No, that's really bad.
I mean, he clarified it afterwards, right?
So if
like
he had literally
said afterwards, I condemn white supremacy, and he said it many times before, but nobody cares.
Yeah,
right?
After it became pretty clear to everyone that shit, he fucked up.
Possibly like
no.
Yeah, if he had like any degree, like if he had like literally his aide probably told him, dude, you have to fucking put out a statement to clarify this. Like you said something really fucking stupid.
Yeah, and he did it.
Anyone would have.
So what's wrong with that?
So the issue, okay, so the reason why this specifically will look optically bad is because of the other ways that he phrased it, right? Like stand back and stand by, the hesitancy that was presented, right? That's what makes it like one aspect of the way that we communicate with other individuals isn't necessarily just the words that come out of our mouth, but the rhetoric, like how long it takes us to say things, right? This is also really important, this aspect. I genuinely think that if Wallace had asked him the same question and Trump had just said yes, he wouldn't be getting the backlash that he did, right? Because, for example, if we look at the other like questions in the debate, there are things that he said that aren't necessarily bad, and the public hasn't misinterpreted him for.
So you're saying because he just didn't say yes, he's responsible for this misunderstanding?
On like such a clear and like pressing issue, something like it's literally like it's literally white supremacy. Like this is the softest softball question in the history of softballs. You say yes and fucking drop it.
Okay, Riley, what is your definition of white supremacy?
Clear yes to me, but.
Hold on. Wait a second. I mean, like, this isn't necessarily. I mean, like, that's irrelevant for the question of like whether or not he should condemn white supremacy. We all know. Hold on. I want to. All right. White supremacy.
I asked you first.
Yeah. All right. We can broadly take it. Also,
let's see how many words you can do. Let's see how fast you get it done.
Yeah. We can probably define white supremacy as a large idea or ideology where people of particularly like European or white skin tones see themselves as superior to people of different skin tones or what they might otherwise define as ethnicities, and want to probably pursue an ethno-state where they either peaceably or forcibly remove anyone who does not fit into that particular ethnicity, whatever they define it to be. Again, it's usually pretty arbitrary. It's usually defined like just based on how people look. Sometimes there's a lot of problems with implementation, but generally just like a feeling where people with lighter skin see themselves as superior to people who are not them, generally speaking.
So it's strictly for white people, though, right? White supremacy means white people.
I don't know what kind of gotcha you're trying to put me into, but yeah.
I'm not trying to get a gotcha. I'm trying to be clear because Proud Boys are not white supremacists.
Wait. Hold on. Are you going off of the fact that the white boys don't actually define themselves as white supremacists, even though like every other major organization defines them objectively as a white supremacist organization? Is that what you're saying?
I was trying to get clear where if is white supremacy only white people, or are you thinking there could be white supremacists that are of other nationalities or colors?
Yes,
idea.
White supremacists. You can be a white supremacist and not inherently be white.
Uncle Ruckus could be a white supremacist.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. What is his argument?
Actually, there's a great example of a black guy that was the biggest white supremacist out there. He was blind. He didn't know that he was black. Right?
So Redneck, where's this argument going? Like Redneck, this is still completely irrelevant. Where's this argument going?
The argument is going that President Trump clearly and literally said the words, sure, name the groups, name them, name who you want me to fucking condemn, because
he said sure, but just to be clear, like you're omitting a lot of words in there.
Riley, I could send you a fucking link and you can watch the 5 minutes of videos.
We watched it. We literally watched it on my stream. We watched it all together. I promise you. I promise. I watched it.
He has condemned the KKK and white supremacists.
Then why didn't he do it there? Again, I don't really care what he believes. You're asking me how he didn't do the debate.
Responsible for not being clear. Then aren't you also responsible for contributing to interpreting his unclear message in a way that could be dangerous? I mean, shouldn't you be trying?
Oh yes,
to
because
say,
like
no,
my
you
actions
didn't?
are equivalent to the president of the United States. Yes, those are totally
You're
totally
doing your
equivalent.
part to make him seem like
Those are
he's
totally
Bob
you're right.
Wilson, the
Those are
white
totally
supremacist.
100% equivalent, especially
Well,
when I'm
according to
expecting people to know about white
according to
supremacy.
your
Yeah,
ethics,
totally.
What you're responsible for what you say, and you're saying something that is making his message seem more like it's encouraged, like it's empowering white supremacists.
Oh, we know that empowers white supremacists. There are sources that tell us that that's the message that they've taken.
Yeah, but you're making his message more like that.
No, I'm going off of the objective evidence that's what people have taken it to mean. I don't really. I mean, like my
no, but what,
yeah, like specific,
but the
like
people
specific.
who take it that way are people like you who are trying to make it
No, like the Proud Boys have taken it that way. That's who took it that way.
Sure,
but like this is
I
a
assume
really
you hold the Proud Boys responsible for that too.
Wait,
just
but
like
all of
Hold on. This is such a weird. Hold on. What is this horseshoe theory? I really hold on. I need to clarify this. So again, you're making an assumption that like just that by some virtue of some quality that somehow I and the Proud Boys share that we would interpret it this way, but no other reasonable person would. Is that like the argument that you're making right now? I really need to understand this argument.
You're saying so. If I understand your morality here, if you have to be responsible for what you say or what the effect it has on the public. And so if Trump says something vague, he's responsible for it being misinterpreted as something dangerous. But if that's true, aren't you also responsible for using the leeway that he's given you and interpreting him to turn it into something dangerous? Shouldn't you be using that leeway?
What would I turn it into that's dangerous?
Instead?
What's the danger?
Well, you're saying that he is, I guess, encouraging white supremacists.
Yeah, what's the danger? What's the implied danger?
Well, if white supremacists hear you saying that, they'll be, oh, he is? Okay, I guess I should be encouraged.
Because hold on. Are you actually saying that I am the one? I'm the one here. I'm the one on this. Hey, Dylan, how many people are watching this podcast right now? How many people?
Wait, give me a second. I'm trying to answer a question. Yeah, 300 at the moment.
300 people. So what you're saying is that I am going to be the one who's first revealing this amazing interpretation to at least some.
You're one of the people who is.
I'm
one of the people.
I gotta
like
say,
you realize. Hold on. I do realize how this
do you want me to? Do you want me to?
I gotta say that was the happiest question I got to answer all day.
Yeah. Do you want me to go outside and start a fire? Like send some smoke signals up because we're all waiting to hear it.
Can I
wait? Hold on. Wait to hear what? Are you seriously telling me? No. Because in order for your argument to actually hold up, you would have to hold a couple premises true. First, that there are some people watching this who are susceptible to white supremacist logic. Secondly, that if they were watching for the first time, they had no idea about any of this happening. And third, that they had no idea about any of this happening, and they still did not.
You're not the first person to say it. I mean, you're helping.
I'm not the first person to say it. I'm helping spread it. I'm literally condemning it. I'm literally saying that it's bad to be a white supremacist.
But it doesn't matter if you're condemning it. You're making the message more something more dangerous than it needs to be, right?
Wait, how am I making it more dangerous? You're still being vague about how it's more dangerous. You're still not specifying how it's more dangerous. I'm literally saying it is a bad thing to be a white supremacist.
What if the message was like he refuses to condemn white supremacy? You would agree that is dangerous, right? That's what
I would say it's dangerous by virtue of the fact that it has been shown demonstrably to have fostered a lot more endorsement of.
Okay, so if it's dangerous for the president to say that something that says that he's aligned with white supremacists, then it's also dangerous for someone else to misinterpret the president as
no. All right. I got your argument. Hold on, Polar. I want to respond to this really quick. All right, because there is a drastic difference between someone saying that they do not condemn something and someone saying that they condemn something. One of them is implying possibly, or could be interpreted to say that they think that thing is approvable, and the other is the person literally saying it's not approvable. There's such a major difference between those two things. I cannot believe that you're drawing a equivalence between them.
No. It's not. It's not. What
he did not condemn it. To a lot of people,
you're saying that he said
to not condemn it, and you don't get that.
What about? Hey, hold on. Hang on. Let's just take a breath, please. Hey, Riley, President Trump just signed an executive order to label them all as, terrorist organizations to be prosecuted as terrorists, right? You do understand that, right?
Okay, I don't know that source, but again, literally, I'm going down. I don't really care what. Again, I will make it. Does it matter? I want it. Yeah. It doesn't matter because we're talking about what he did in the debate. We're talking about what he did in the debate. I don't care what he does after. I don't care that he made a mistake.
You want? Is it not the result you want?
All I care about is what he
Just
said in the
argue the
debate. The
argument.
question
It's
is
about
how
the
he
no.
performed in
Your
the debate.
drums to be bumping, or you want
The question
results?
is how he performed in the debate. That's it. I don't care what the fuck he did after. If he condemned them, then great. Good fucking for him.
But
What he did in the debate led to a lot of people in the
that's what
Proud
our
Boys thinking that that was a tacit endorsement of them.
Okay.
That's what happened.
Okay, stop it here because
I
these people,
proudly endorse the Proud Boys.
Redneck, did you just endorse the Proud Boys? Did you just endorse the Proud Boys?
Yeah, I said I'll say it again. You want to hear it clearly?
Yes, I want to hear it.
I stand in support with the Proud Boys to be proud.
What the fuck?
Well, there it is.
What the
Okay,
hell?
That's clever.
Now
That's
let me.
clever.
Now there's.
That's very clever.
I want to throw it over the jury who had his hand up, and I know he probably feels really awkward with me handing the mic to him now, after that was said. But
no, look, whatever. Honestly, like if we're going to be realistic about what we're really talking about, the Proud Boys are not really even a group that matters in America. They're mostly city-based edgelords. We have 300 people watching. Do you know the largest gathering of the Proud Boys happened a few weeks ago? You want to know how many people were there? Does anybody know offhand? Anybody?
100.
I don't imagine it was a big number, to be honest with you. I imagine
It was one third. You're right, Redneck.
It was 100. Yeah, it was 100 people.
100 people. So, like, by and large, everybody on this panel, our followers literally dwarf that of the active amount of Proud Boys. So if we are going to assume that we command X amount of the mobile force in America, then we do. The only reason why the Proud Boys are even a thing we talk about is because Gavin McInnes is involved in it, and he's a New York media guy, and so of course all the New York media covers it as if it's a active threat, and they're the Ku Klux Klan that has affected local governments throughout the country for the last 100 and whatever years. Like it is a ridiculous concept that we're even talking about the Proud Boys.
Yes.
They're mostly just internet jack-offs. Like, no, you know what? No. Ultimately, this is such a stupid issue. Like, this is the dumbest fucking thing that we can possibly talk about. We want to talk about white supremacists. Like, we want to talk about militias. Like, the idea of Patriots' Prayer is a way bigger issue that we should probably be talking about. They are. No, look, they're actually people that go in there with guns. The fucking Proud Boys are a bunch of jackoffs that drink with Gavin McInnes and punch each other and talk about cereal. They are fucking meme lords. They're not.
What's wrong with legally carrying a weapon?
Again, at the very least, we can have a conversation about that. That actually
that would actually be a much more productive conversation.
And weapons and whether or not they should be entering into the fracas and where the fracas is starting. At least that has something to fucking do with our modern world and not talking about these fucking incels.
I will say so. Can I go, Dylan? Or?
Sure. One thing though, this would probably be a good place for me to place this here, and this will either be taken very well or very not well. Demon Mama will be on my channel next Monday at 6 p.m. EST to debate a Proud Boy on the merits of the organization and the history of the organization. So I'm just going to put that there for anybody who is actually interested. Oh, well, I know. I'm talking about
all 800 of them. I'm sure they can all gather together and they can.
I'm about to have half of the West Virginia chapter on stream.
Then God bless. Look, like they are what they are, but they're not. Like they literally only matter because New York media matters to each other because they all go to each other's dinner parties and they all follow each other on Twitter. And Gavin McInnes matters because he co-founded fucking Vice. And that's the only reason why we're talking about them as if they're the KKK. There are actual white supremacist organizations. There are actual militias that do factor into our modern society. The fact that we are lumping this like a 4chan, like the least popular 4chan offshoot, like Made Flesh, is just insulting even to the concept of caring about white supremacists.
I want to throw this over to Polar.
Okay, so I think the conversation between Riley and Last Username is extremely interesting for a couple of reasons, and I'm trying to get to the further aspect of this logic, right? So, LU, how do you interpret anything as harmful whenever it comes to any from a public figure?
Well, just to be clear, I'm not saying that I do. I was talking about the moral principle that Riley told me.
Sure.
That you're responsible if you say, dangerous for the effect of your words in public, right?
So, if we were to go further with this moral principle, should all interpretations of anything harmful not be interpreted because we're pushing forth that harmful aspect?
No, I'm saying that if you use if you take advantage of some ambiguity in something someone else says in order to make what they said more dangerous than it was, and it seems like you are partly responsible for the dangerous effect that those words have, right? Doesn't that make sense?
Sure.
You can blame them for being ambiguous, but then it seems like you share part of the blame for taking that ambiguity and using it to make what they said more dangerous.
So how do we know that an individual is being ambiguous on a public scale then?
Well, I mean, how do you know he's being ambiguous? I guess you have to figure that out. It seems to me.
So then how do you figure it out then? Because this is the extreme that we're going to go to.
Figuring it out now.
Common sense.
Stop. I have to stop.
Your question specifically.
You listen to his words and you understand the language.
But that's perception. That all has to do with the way that you interpret it, though. All of language has to do with perception.
Well, I mean, we have to hopefully be able to perceive language as meaning the same thing, or else we just can't talk about anything. I mean,
so here's the thing:
we're not living in two completely different universes. You know?
Sure. But like we've already demonstrated that we don't necessarily know what he means. We can only inductively reason based on the past things that he said, and the only way that we know and interpret the way that the things he said.
You said that he's responsible for being clear, so you can seem to concede that what he said was that even if what he said was unclear, then it's still bad, and that's when I pointed out that if it's unclear and you interpret it in the most dangerous possible way, then you're at least partly responsible in the way that he is.
Can I clarify?
I'm sure.
Riley, you can go.
I'm not saying that there isn't any moral culpability on the Proud Boys for interpreting that the wrong way, but I'm just saying what I am saying, to be clear, is that there is moral culpability on his part. Not that there's not shared culpability, but there's certainly some on his part.
Okay,
partly in him and partly on you.
How's that me? No, he did not condemn it. I am condemning it. There's a difference.
I got something to say. Can I go ahead?
But it doesn't matter if you're condemning it. If you're
Well, it does not matter. That's literally the point.
to
That's
make it-
literally
to
the
make the
issue.
message
There's no
more
ambiguity.
dangerous.
No, there's literally no ambiguity in anything that I'm saying.
I want to ask something here.
No,
Jury.
in what he said.
Jury.
Yeah,
Brother.
that's the issue. Is that there's ambiguity there and there's not here.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I want to
No,
give.
but that's you're right. That's what I'm saying. And you're using his ambiguity to turn what he said into something more dangerous, which means
I'm literally being clear. No. Me pointing out how people have interpreted his to be negative is not going to spread that harm of that ambiguity.
Okay. I gotta get it off here. CTV, ask Jury something, and then we're gonna go into final statements because we gotta get to the next topic.
Right. So, Jury, look, man, I don't know much about you as far as your whole life is concerned, but I've traveled around the world, right? I've communicated with a lot of different people. I'm going to assume that just from the look of you, that you probably have. Is that pretty fair to say?
I mean, I've been some places. What are you, the government?
Well, no. Just saying that
I'm kidding. Yeah, sure, yeah. But whatever.
Yeah, right.
I've seen some places.
Right. So I think that having listened to this thing for like the last 5-10 minutes, I'm definitely of like the opinion that people need to slow down, right? Understand that people across all different spectrums and worlds of conversation have filters through which they export and import information into their brain, right? And that you at some point have to accept individual responsibility for your own filter before you intake it. To maintain the neutralness of what you're taking in. That way you're not automatically jumping the gun and creating a hostile situation. You know what I mean?
It depends. It really depends on what you want. If you're trying to be an advocate for a cause, then no, you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you go full bore ahead because your values matter and you want to, move forward with your values because you're proselytizing. You are not here for a good faith conversation. You're here to advance your cause. If you are actually trying to talk about it, then yes, sure. You want to make sure that you value things on an even hand. But ultimately, we're in some kind of hybrid at this point because we're literally sorted out here as right and left, and we are made to argue back and forth. So that's here, like for us having an entertainment argument, so people in the chat can enjoy it, then yeah, it's some version of the two.
I mean, just specifically, and that goes back to what Polar said, to what last username was saying. It certainly seemed very clear that the breakdown was between when the information was taken in like the meaning that it had in this point, and then across a whole spectrum of people, it has to be intook through filters, right?
Sure,
So some people see it one way, other people see it another way, and the difference there has a lot to do with the people's filter themselves, and that's where understanding the source, right, and getting to know the source a little bit better is how you can kind of clarify perhaps some of the meaning.
But CTV,
the point of clarifying the source of politics is totally useless. Politics is not a good faith argument on its very face. Politics is literally about getting people into a booth to vote one way or another. You are manipulating truth from the second that it leaves your lips. That's the point of the concept. We are not having good faith arguments. We are having motivating arguments that get people into the polls and press your button, or by vote, or by dropping it off, or however else we're going to do in this pandemic world. So look, there was a bad fucking question, and the group that was mentioned is irrelevant. Trump fucked up. Biden was good because he mentioned Proud Boys. The question was loaded, and if Trump was smart, he would have said, okay, I did one. Now Biden, why don't you tell Antifa to stand down? But he didn't, because he fucked up, which was the whole point of the entire thing. And instead we go in this entire, like how many angels can dance on the head of a pin argument on whether or not the dumb question was answered even dumber, or whether or not it's the end of racial justice in America.
Yeah. So
well, we're gonna wrap this up now. We're gonna do finishing statements. You guys will get about a minute and a half. It was a pretty lengthy discussion, so I think giving you a little bit more wiggle room is okay. I'm gonna start as always in the top left-hand corner with Riley. I cannot hear a single word you're saying.
Crap, sorry, I muted myself just because I was typing. The question was how did Trump perform in the first debate with Biden? I don't know. Like, I think that if you are a Proud Boy or a white supremacist, you probably fucking loved it, and otherwise that you didn't. He was asked a question pretty directly, and he did not give a clear answer. Regardless of whether or not you think that he gave an affirmative answer or not, it clearly wasn't clear. I mean, like, objectively, it led to a lot of Proud Boys and white supremacists feeling that that was a tacit endorsement. That's a pretty obvious material effect. There's a distinction between not condemning someone and condemning someone, just to be clear. And I don't know. Just based on the optics of it, it's probably going to have a hard effect on his campaign. So that's pretty much it.
Okay. Next, I'm going over to Jerry.
Bad.
Beautiful. Next, I'm going over to CTV. Okay, next I'm going to Polar's World.
I personally think that Trump did not do a good job in this debate, but the whole point of debates is to optically look good so that, as Jerry said, people go in the booth and vote for you. That's why the effect of our language matters. And that'll be the end of my closing statement.
I'll give you all extra time and you're all tired, puckered out. I'm going to throw it over to last username.
So here's a little analogy. Two people are in a bar, a little drunk. One guy says to the other one, "Hey, nice shirt." And the other guy's like, "Were you being sarcastic?" And let's say the guy's not being sarcastic, but you are like, "Oh yeah, he was definitely being sarcastic. He was definitely insulting your shirt." Even though you know that might not be true. Is that guy responsible for the ambiguity in what he said? Maybe. Are you also partly responsible for taking advantage of that ambiguity to incite the bad thing that's going to happen? Yeah, I'd say you are. And this is analogous. I mean, if you really don't want white supremacists to be emboldened, you probably shouldn't go around talking about how the president is emboldening white supremacists. Oh my God, at every opportunity. Now, if you really are absolutely certain that he's actually doing that, then I guess you got to tell the truth, because you should always tell the truth. But if there's any doubt about it, you should be really, really sure. You definitely shouldn't be going out of your way to take things he said that aren't entirely clear, and make them seem as emboldening to white supremacists as possible. Otherwise, you're the one emboldening white supremacists. I mean, that's the way it is. If you think that you're responsible for the things you say in public, then you should be responsible for putting words in someone else's mouth that are dangerous.
Okay, next I'm going to Redneck.
Based on last username's last sentence. And we want to keep putting labels and push narratives and perceptions and then go and turn around and say, oh, but that's your perception, that's your opinion, that's anecdotal, or that's whataboutism, or that's all these little different slices that everybody keeps trying to pigeonhole things into is why we're where we're at. And it's real simple. Racism's bad. There's no skin color that's better than another skin color, period. And if you're a real fucking racist, you'd be a human racist and treat everyone like pieces of shit, because we all are. To somebody else's eyes, you're a piece of shit. That's it. So as a human racist myself, everyone's a piece of shit until you prove otherwise. And that's it. I mean, we gotta quit being so fucking sensitive about words and about, oh, he didn't say this right, or he said this, or that's a dog whistle, or that. You're hearing it. I don't know of any fucking, I don't even know of a white supremacist. And if I could find a KKK, I'd punch him in the face myself in the game of life with a spinning wheel. I mean, we're all on the same page here. You guys just don't think we are. Keep it up. It's all good. The bait sucked.
We're gonna go into the next topic now. Also, last name, were you going after my shirt? I like my shirt. We're going to the next topic now.
That's a real nice shirt, Dylan.
Wow, really? Okay.
Oh yeah, really.
We're gonna go into the next topic, and this is the last topic of the night. Is Trump's language, I guess we're back to language, around the election dangerous? So this can go off of past statements he said about mail-in voting. This can go into stuff his campaign has put out. Basically, what Trump has been talking about around the election generally. You could even talk about his ending statement at the debate, which would go back to the last topic, but I think that falls under this. So basically, just what Trump has said or done around the election generally. Is it dangerous? I'm going to start this time opposite, because I just want to throw it up in the air. I'm going to start with Redneck first.
Yes, sir.
Oh, it is? Is that it?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You cut out on half of it. You said me first, and I was like, that's all I heard. You first.
Wait. Did you not hear my question?
No, sir. I said I had it cut out.
Oh, did everybody else hear me fine?
I heard.
Yeah, you usually start on the left, so I had you cut out.
Oh.
So I wouldn't get heard. I'm sorry.
The question. Okay, okay. See, this is what happens.
I apologize. Seriously, I had it
It's okay. It's okay. I'll just start.
I can go.
Okay. The question is Trump's language around the election dangerous?
Everything he says is dangerous.
Ooh.
Well, okay. Next is the last username.
Which question specifically? Questioning.
Is what Trump said about the election dangerous? Go.
He said a lot of things about the election.
Yeah, I specifically clarify. Okay, I'm gonna.
This is broken down so bad.
Okay, I'm gonna repeat the question.
They were all fucking late, but we were all on time, and so you got to give us some.
He did. Look, he literally did. Maybe your internet slowed down, but Dylan's been doing it. This is crazy, right? So I'm going first.
I answered it correctly.
Okay.
Dylan, if you don't mind, sir, I'd like to go first.
Yeah, you can go first.
Jesus Christ, is Trump language around the election dangerous, right? And I think that if you felt like Trump's language was dangerous before, you're probably going to think that it is now, right? Or if you're just like, he's president, he's the guy that's doing these things, and at the end of the day, I'm responsible for myself, and I'm not going to be a pussy about it, then there you go, right? I think that kind of comes down to that, right? So if you want to be scared, be scared. If you don't want to be scared, just pay attention to what's going on. So you got a way to look forward into the future to be able to get your shit in line. Okay? There we go.
Okay, so I don't think that really clarified what the question was, so I'm going to clarify it one more time for everybody else. The question is about whether Trump's language around the election is dangerous. I clarified this could be statements about mail-in voting. This could be his statement about whether the election is going to be a legitimate election. This could be his statement at during the end of the debate when I'm talking about the peaceful transition of power, just general or stuff his campaign has put out. So it's generally his dialogue about whether the 2020 election is going to be fair and good and about mail-in voting. Okay, do we all understand the question now? So Trump's language around the election. Okay, cool. So we're going to go to Jury, who I think has been listening to me both times, so I think he understands the question.
Indeed, I do. The fault lines on party orthodoxy in terms of rallying their voters is that Democrats tell their base that Republicans like to intimidate and engage in voter suppression. Republicans tell their voters that Democrats engage in voter or vote manipulation, if not inflation. There are elements to point out instances of this throughout history. Donald Trump is appealing to his base in the way that Republicans normally do. He does it in an inflammatory level that does border on eroding our trust in democracy. So I'm not a fan of it, but it certainly is not surprising. And also, this is my bird. His name is Doctor.
Aw.
Nice.
Adorable. I love him. We're going to throw it over to Riley.
So, I don't know, maybe I overprepared. I actually have specific examples, so let's talk about some. On August 14th, Trump first discussed how Democrats were asking for funds which were necessary for the post office to be able to process mail-in ballots, and how Democrats were not willing, and how if they weren't not willing to adhere to his demands, then he would not fund mail-in voting. Like, he just said it pretty clearly. Additionally, he claimed without evidence that mail-in ballots would be purposely manipulated by foreign countries to be sent to Democratic areas and not Republican areas. But the FBI literally said that there was no information about any nation state engaging in any effort to undermine any aspect of mail-in voting, and also noted how different any coordinated fraud scheme involving mail-in ballots would be to pull off because of the decentralized nature of U.S. elections and numerous safeguards that are in place. Furthermore, I'm sorry, I have a lot of data. Trump said that mail-in ballots, they cheat. Mail ballots are very dangerous for the country because of cheaters. They go to collect them. They are fraudulent in many cases. They have to vote. They should have voter ID, by the way. That's direct quote. Even though he said this, studies have shown that all forms of voting fraud are extremely rare. The United States national study conducted in 2016 found few credible allegations of fraudulent voting. A panel that Mr. Trump charged with investigating election corruption found no real evidence of fraud before he disbanded it in 2018. Additionally, Trump urged his supporters to go to the polls and watch very carefully. Additionally, Trump encouraged his supporters to try and commit voter fraud by voting twice, one by mail, once in person. He just said it. And he also refused to commit to a peaceful transfer of power if he loses the election. He said, we'll have to see what happens. Again, literally just did not respond to the question, just said, we'll see what happens. Didn't even give a sure, didn't give a, oh, we'll think about it. Just said, we'll have to see what happens. So Trump has repeatedly lied about the nature of mail-in voting. He urges voters to go to the polls and watch carefully, which will likely result in voter intimidation. He told his voters to literally commit voter fraud, and he refused to commit to a peaceful transfer of power if he loses the election. So yeah, I would say that his statements surrounding the election are extremely dangerous and show a pretty blatant disregard for our democracy. Personal hot take.
Next, I'm going to throw it over to Polar.
I think Riley summed it up pretty well. It seems like Trump has had this very interesting view towards forms of democracy. Honestly, it's one of the reasons why I think this election is super important, because it seems like it's going to be one of the more contested ones, especially with the decision of the election to be held not on the day after, but the days or the weeks coming after. So for the points that Riley mentioned and what's going to happen during this election, I think Trump's rhetoric is especially dangerous as well with his language.
And next is the last username.
All of Trump's language is dangerous to my brain, so I try to listen to as little of it as possible. I haven't heard anything they said about the election that particularly worries me. I don't think he's going to that. I don't think he can hold on to power or ignore the election results. He has absolutely no loyalty with anyone in order to do that. It doesn't matter what he wants. It matters what everybody else in the government, whether they consider the election legitimate. So, I'm just not too worried. But like I say, I try to listen to as little of Trump as I can. So if he may have said some spicy things about the election that I didn't hear.
Okay, now, last but not least, it's going to be Redneck.
So, his words have lived, apparently, and not only Riley and everybody else's heads, except for last username and CTV. I don't think he said anything. I actually think I don't know. I think Polar and Riley are the most effective on the panel tonight by his words. They're dangerous because of that. His words are dangerous no matter who hears them because of just that. The amount of TDS that's been exposed and has been just prevalent since he decided to run for president. This shit hit his words, his actions, his tweets, him being an American citizen, saying whatever the fuck he wants, which is his right. I mean, even before he was president, you guys were bitching. I don't remember bitching about Obama. I don't ever remember acting out and lashing out and getting pissy and saying his words. I don't know. Y'all might just want to sit this one out this time. Just saying. Because if the words are going to keep hurting you, then life's going to get it's going to get a lot worse for you. Life just sucks and words hurt. Yeah, they hurt. It's just the actions you got to watch.
Okay.
Can I follow on that?
Yeah, give me a second. Usually this is how I do it. Okay. It is now open. You can grab it as it falls.
Do you think that some words have like meaningful actions? Like if someone like a president says that that trans people can't have federal healthcare rights in the nation anymore, do you think that those words actually affect people beyond just hurting their feelings?
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah. I'm just asking. Like, do words is the only possible effect of any of these words that they could hurt my feelings?
That is a bit of a pivot from our conversation, though.
Well, I mean, I'm just asking. Like, he's saying that these words could only possibly hurt our feelings, but like a lot of these, like he's literally encouraging his voters to go out and commit voter fraud. That seems like a pretty serious tacit endorsement. Like he's literally
he literally was being sarcastic to prove the point.
He said to have his supporters go and vote by mail and in person. It's literally telling his supporters to go commit voter fraud. I don't know what to tell. I don't. You don't know what commands mean. You don't know what apparently the only effects that any of these words could have is just by like hurting our feelings. And yeah, I mean, like his supporters fucking do whatever he tells them to. He says that masks like don't help anyone, and so like all of his supporters don't wear fucking any mask at any of his rallies, right? Like of course they fucking listen to him. To say otherwise would be just fucking ridiculous. And you're saying that like, oh, they're not going to listen to him and not going to go out and commit voter fraud after he explicitly told them to? Are you fucking serious? Are you fucking kidding me? Like this is literally an affront on democracy, and you're just like, oh, well, it just hurts your precious feelings.
And your anger, how much you're just literally ramping.
Oh yeah, I just care about like the validity of our democracy. Yes, I shouldn't get beat up about this. Yeah, no.
The validity of our democracy has been established and been running well for over 250 years, like well over 250 years.
Well, Trump doesn't seem to really care about it then, because he's literally telling his voters to go out and vote twice.
You think that, Riley? It's your fucking opinion, but you're not America as a whole. You are actually a point
So
zero.
wait. So if his voters go out and vote twice because of what he told them to do, then you don't care about that. You think he has no responsibility there? He literally told them to do that, and you don't care.
It was a fucking joke. He was being sarcastic.
Fucking joke. Everything that he says is a joke. Everything he fucking says is a joke. He's the goddamn president of the United States. Are you fucking serious? He is the goddamn president of the United States, and you're saying that this is a fucking joke? You're a fucking joke, dude. Are you goddamn serious right now?
Sounds like a joke to me.
It sounds like a joke to me.
You know, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that like part of the job of
Where did
being
he
a
say it?
president was being a comedian. Yeah. No, I have it right here. Yeah, I have the link right here.
Hold on. Do you think the word?
Riley, hang on, Riley.
I put it right in the chat. Okay. Ready to go.
Let's block it.
She addressed me.
Okay. You and then Jerry after.
Riley, please take a deep breath.
Oh, I'm here with you. I am so like you and me. We are riding this journey together. We will get through this together. I believe in us.
I literally want you to be in better health.
I do. I want you to be in better health. I don't want to live in the democracy where our president tells our voters to go and commit voter fraud. I really don't.
Slow that train down.
But
slow the train.
I know y'all seem to really ignore how the president literally tells
Okay.
I'm really worried about you. I'm really worried about you.
Okay.
Riley.
Okay. No, red. No. Both of you. Stop. Okay. You're both getting muted now. Okay. No. I've been very clear multiple times, and this is like the third time it's happened. when I talk, everybody shuts down. So I'm gonna throw this to JR, Justin Young, and then you two can engage right after. Okay? Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, democracy is a common idea. The republic is a common idea. If we want to get high-minded about it, the idea that we all believe in the concept of the results of an election. Now, we have settled a culture on this for many, many years, so I can get where Redneck's coming from, but I do believe in what Riley is saying, that look, this is all fallible. We have seen this repeatedly, and when
it's
look,
just words, people.
Oh my
God! Just words,
look,
words.
Look, Redneck again. I agree with you that like there is that this democracy to me is more robust than even somebody talking spicy about it. But at the same time, let's understand that this concept is something that does require active participation in. And if there is a breakdown in it, then it does go away. I have people in my life that literally lived through the Yugoslavian Revolution, right? And when they tell me that the rhetoric for which they see on television is something that reminds them of the breakdown of the republic for which they lived in, it's not something that makes me feel great. All right. Now, maybe they're being overreactive, and I would probably bet on the idea that they are. But at the same time, let's understand that when there is a politically divided system for which we have, when there is a politically divided culture for which we have, that it does make it more likely that we have actual breakdowns in our system than less likely. So whether or not you want to nitpick on exactly whether or not one quote was a joke and one quote actually does harm, let's understand that there are consequences to it if we don't all actively continue to build the future.
I would also like to ask Redneck, this whole aspect of words, even if they, do you think words matter? That, like, do you think people who interpret these words as like harmful to them, do you think that they're just being soft?
Yeah, I do. I actually do.
So can I bring up an example real quick?
So for example,
wait. I think we all know where this is going.
Oh
Redneck. For example, let's say
Thank you all so much. I fucking agree. Y'all are amazing.
I think yeah. Sorry, really. Let's say that I was a victim of child abuse, right? And every single day, my father would hit me, beat the shit out of me every day, and he would call me a specific word. Let's say he called me an orange, just for the sake of it, right? And I grow up, and this is something that completely traumatizes me, right?
Sure.
If someone comes up to me, knowing my trauma or not knowing my trauma, and specifically calls me an orange continuously, puts me back in the position of being abused by my father every day, would you say I'm just being soft?
So you didn't decide to confront them and tell them that it offends you.
So even if it did, and they did it, what would that be relevant?
At that point, they're bullying you, and then you either have a choice to stand up for yourself.
So sure. Let's say they don't know. Is it my fault that I'm being offended by that?
Again, yes, because
it's my fault.
How is everybody supposed to know what hurts you inside?
Wait.
Everybody has their own level of oppression. Fucking hell, bro.
No, wait. Do words matter in that sense? Do their feelings matter?
No.
Their feelings don't matter.
If you don't share them, if you don't tell that person, "Hey, I had a dad that was beating the fuck out of me."
Why don't Redneck? Why don't they just get stronger, man? You said that they're just soft. Are they soft? You mentioned that earlier. So let's say you don't. Are you just being soft?
Oh my God, Polar! You want to shut the fuck up and hear the answer or not?
Sure, Redneck, go on.
Really letting this get to him.
Yeah, Redneck, just go ahead.
What do you want?
Don't be so soft.
Okay.
I'm trying to answer the question.
I get the meme, but I want to hear the answer.
You're sitting here saying that if your dad calls you an orange every day and you are offended by it, and then this guy just starts calling you an orange as well, you don't take any action to tell that person that it's offending you?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the case? Yes or no?
Redneck, I'm asking, is it their fault that they're soft? And because you called them soft for being offended by that earlier, by being offended by words.
You don't. If you.
It's irrelevant. Wait. It's irrelevant whether the other person knows. Right? Is it their fault for being soft?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all that matters. That's all I wanted to get out of that. Words do have an effect on people, and their feelings do matter. Thank you.
Yes, their feelings do matter. So everybody has feelings, but
Is
you
this where we're at,
choose.
where we're literally talking about like
Polar, for smart as you are. Hang on.
Okay.
For smart as you are,
I'll
I
tell you
find
this-
it highly. For smart as you are, I find it highly intellectually bad faith that you don't think that you can't physically and mentally make a choice to change how that fucking makes you feel.
That's the guy that accused us for literally citing
okay.
studies throughout the entirety of this. That's the guy who literally gets mad at us citing studies.
Okay,
Redneck,
I'm gonna have to completely shut this down. None of this is even about the election anymore.
No, I'll bring it back because Jory made up a good example of the people in Yugoslavia, right? Do their feelings matter, right? In this sense, with the same anti-democratic rhetoric is being put on them, is it their fault for being soft?
That's not how the Yugoslavian civil war.
I'm sorry.
To be fair, like let's not make this apples to apples. Like
No,
that was a very complicated situation, and I'm saying that like there are complicated allegories that we could put to this. But
I'm sorry, Jerry, if I was just going off of your example, but did you mention that the rhetoric was alike? I'm only going by what you said.
My friends say that the things that they hear, what the polarization that they hear reminds them of that. Now, whether that means that their union was as strong as our union is really kind of the ultimate clarifying difference there. And ultimately, I don't think that it is, because I would bet on the idea that no matter what happens after November 3rd, we're probably still going to have a functioning republic. And if we don't, any of the 286 people watching right now, I owe you a Coke.
So I just looked up what Trump said about votes. He didn't say to vote twice. Apparently what he said is that if you vote by mail, you should go to the polls on election day and make sure that your vote was counted. And if it wasn't, then vote again. Or
there's literally
now this is not
let him finish.
Good advice.
Last username, don't look. He said the thing, and yes, that's what he meant. But like honestly, are we gonna get into the like Trump the Trump interpreter situation where like he's an imprecise speaker, and yes, he should get criticized for speaking imprecisely because sometimes it means something else. That's what happens when you speak imprecisely and you literally have the bully pulpit as the leader of the free.
But this wasn't imprecise. He was very clear about this. Like this, like several paragraphs that he said.
Come on, listen to the goddamn quote. Like I'm here for I am here for your perspective that he is often taken out of context, and I think in that
is like very intentionally misinterpreting. Clearly, like it's very clear from what he said. Right? It's not just a half a sentence or something.
You listen to the quote and the way it's, but it might read different when you look at it in text. But the way he speaks it, I think
no. This is crystal clear what he's saying here. He's not telling you to vote twice. He's saying that you should go to the voting poll in case your mail-in vote gets not counted. Which is not good advice, but it's very different from saying that he's encouraging people to commit voting fraud. So in this case, it really is the people who are misinterpreting him who are putting out the dangerous message. They're the ones saying Trump's
interpreting it differently, and therefore you're saying that you're interpreting it differently, and therefore other people are interpreting it wrong.
I'm interpreting.
No, that's
exactly
what you're saying. You're saying
said.
that you're interpreting it in the way that, mind you, the vast minority of people have taken it. Like you are the vast minority opinion.
No,
and you're saying
who
that by virtue of you
to
interpreting it that way, that everyone else is wrong. Do you understand?
Anyone
do
who
you
actually
understand the problem
listens
with
to
that
what
logic?
he says will understand it quite clear what he's saying.
Hold on.
How do you know
Anyone who gets their Trump quotes through indirectly through the people who hate him.
I think that you added a thing to that quote that I think is what he meant, but it is not what he said. He didn't say go to the polling place and check whether or not you voted, or at least maybe he said that. I'll tell you, actually, I take that back. You might not have added anything. The way that it was interpreted that I did, right? And I am somebody that tries to give Trump the benefit of the doubt, is that he said go to your polling place and try to vote and see if they stop you. Because that is what he's trying to explain. He
said, so send it in early and then go and vote. And if it's not tabulated, you vote. And the vote is going to count.
Okay, so he's saying go vote again. So you have already voted. You know you voted. Then go vote again. And then see if on the back end they catch it.
Well, how it should work is if they'll see if you're registered. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, but how it works here in Canada is they'll have you on the list there.
Oh,
at the
get
polling
out of
station.
here, Canadian!
Fucking bullshit. I'm sorry.
Hey,
I'm just saying.
look,
Mhm.
this
How do we do it?
is what I'm going to do right here before I address another.
First, I
point,
would like
but-
to hear last username finish, and then get
But,
to
like, you
CDB.
won't
That's
get
what I
to
was
vote,
getting-
right? They'll look you up on the list. They'll say, "Oh, you already voted.
Yeah,
You got your
he
mail."
tells them to try to do it. Yeah,
Yeah,
go
well-
try and see if they stop you. That's literally what it is.
Well, that's.
Not
I mean,
just-
that's what you would do, I guess. I mean, you shouldn't actually do
Yes,
that.
it is.
There's
That's
better
voter
ways
fraud.
to
Wait,
accomplish
that's
what he's talking
voter
about.
fraud.
Wait, Lu,
Well,
how do
that's
you know that you shouldn't do that? That's your
Because
interpretation.
other people have said no. There's better ways to do that to solve.
But
that
from
problem.
him, right? It's your interpretation. That's all I'm
No,
saying.
no,
Look, the point that he is trying to make, and God, am I loath to defend fucking Trump, but like the point he's trying to make is that unsolicited absentee ballots can create fraud, or at the very least, create a problem in an already stressed, largely volunteer polling situation where you're not going to get strict adherence to these kinds of guidelines, or people will make allowances and allow you to vote again. I think, to be fair, that's something that we should have a good faith conversation about. We should have a good faith conversation about the idea that these that the people that staff these polling places are understaffed, the budgets for them are not what they should be, and that we are putting a ton of mail-in ballots out there in states that have not built up the systems to handle them, regardless of what the lack of fraud that we've seen in the past. I do think it scares me the amount that we have staffed up the idea of unsolicited ballots. However, recommending people to test it out themselves is a problematic statement.
I have the clip. I'm gonna play it on stream. It's literally 47 seconds. I'll be right back.
On your ballots, if you get the unsolicited ballots, send it in, and then go make sure it counted. And if it doesn't tabulate, you vote. You just vote. And then if they tabulate it very late, which they shouldn't be doing, they'll see you voted, and so it won't count. So send it in early, and then go and vote. And if it's not tabulated, you vote, and the vote is going to count. You can't let them take your vote away. These people are playing dirty politics. Dirty politics. So if you have an absentee ballot, or as I call it, a solicited ballot, you send it in. But I would check it in any event. I would go and follow it and go vote. And everybody here wants to vote.
He said, "Hey, you know, if you think that if you think your vote didn't get counted, go and vote in person and prove that it's."
No, yeah. Look, it's an idea that, again, is trying to say, hey, if the backbone is so perfect, and the Democrats believe it's so perfect that every double ballot is going to get caught on the back end, then why don't you go test it? Because they're going to test it against me, so you should test it for me. It is pointing out fallible elements of our democracy. And let me point this out. These are fallible elements of our democracy. He is pointing out a thing that is a problem. What he is weaponizing that is for his own side, because he believes the other side is already doing it. And again, that to me is degrading the faith in the election. Does it matter more because he's the president that's saying it? Yes. Does it mean that we don't have problems? No, we do have problems. We should be talking about the problems, but instead we're going to get obsessed with this fucking partisan line bullshit, and it fucking annoys me.
Hey, Just.
Yes.
I would commit right now to you, if we could fix the voter system, I'm down.
So let's have
And
that
I would have that.
conversation.
I'd have that debate all day fucking long.
Yeah, because there are problems.
In good faith. In good fucking faith.
Look, we have a largely volunteer system that is patchwork amongst all different states, which, number one, is kind of low key a good thing, because it's very hard to commit widespread nationwide voter fraud, because we have 50 super fucked up, totally different incongruent systems that we all
They're usually older than my parents. Like, it's fucked.
No,
not trained.
It's
not
ramshackle.
supported.
And look, source, I'm from Florida. I've watched it fuck up in my lifetime. I watched what our system was. I watched it be manipulated by local politicians. I watched people try to vote and have people get thrown out. I've watched ballots turn up in rental cars in Fort Lauderdale International Airport. Like, this is not something that we all need to imagine is a partisan issue. This is something that is manipulated by local government. And if we pay attention to that, that's a worthwhile conversation. If we get into this
right.
where we're talking about large scale stuff, then yes, I agree. The president shouldn't be poking holes in the concept of the validity of elections, because it does erode something where democracy at the end of the day is, and I do believe in Ferry's situation, and we all got to say it for it to matter. But like, that's not the real structural problem. IMO.
So that.
So
Oh yeah, CTV. You wanted to talk.
So Riley, you did a great job of arguing the language of the question in the last topic. So we're going to throw it right back at you.
Okay,
so
cool.
I hope you're ready.
Mhm.
Is Trump's language around the election dangerous? So what I did is I took the liberty of looking up the definition of the word dangerous, right? And it says
Are you
able
on the
or
Wikipedia
likely.
or dictionary.com?
Or just Google. Just real easy peasy, right? So
Yeah, where are we going?
So able to likely cause harm or injury. So then I thought it might be even, more to go into the definition of harm, which is physical injury, especially that which is deliberately inflicted, and harm, the fact of being injured, harm, or damage. So I'm assuming that we're talking about very physical things here. That being said, right?
Well, I need to clarify. Are we doing the 1,000 IQ take where we're going off of just the dictionary definition, like the first definition of what harm is, and it has to be like physical harm? Is this literally the argument that we're going with? The 1,000 IQ take that harm is only the first definition of what we find in the dictionary?
If you were just listening, right, to what I said, you would not have needed to do that.
No, I'm just asking you. Like, is that what your argument is? That literally because it's the first thing that comes up in the dictionary that we have to go, that the only narrow definition of what harm is that it's physical harm?
You remind me of Sneaky Debate Man. Do you know that?
Wait, Sneaky Debate Man who? Wait. Which
Sneaky
Debate Man?
Debate Man, right?
Is that, wait, hold on. Is that an actual person?
That
Is
is a real
this a reference person?
We're going to get back
That's
to
a real
arguing
person.
the language.
Wait, is it a real person? Oh shit!
Yeah,
Is it?
yeah.
I mean, I've been told I have sneaky lawyer debate tactics before. I don't know. It's
Right,
just
so
apparently like
here's-
pointing out like
so-
illogical fallacies.
Right,
tends
so
to
here's
be
the deal.
apparently.
Look, I have not got the
Wait. What was that I just heard? Who was just playing like a
Sorry. No. I was trying to check the box score in the Heat game, and it decided to play the radio call. That's my
What are you
bad.
doing?
It's no problem.
Right.
How's it going though?
Terrible.
No.
Horrible to hear. Back to that mess that we were just
Okay, so
Yeah. I want to know. I want to know if that's what you're. If that's what you're actually
Christ,
arguing.
look at you go. You don't stop. So
I'm asking you a question.
the
I'm asking you a
question that we're talking about is the language here. And what I said from the very beginning is that if you were going to get your feelings hurt, then you're going to get your feelings hurt, right? And if you're not, then you're paying attention to what's going on to be able to prepare for something that is actually physically dangerous, right? So if
Okay,
you
cool.
need to go in
Yeah.
a
So do you think that
garden or
feelings being hurt are equivalent to equivalent to a president telling their voters to literally go out and commit voter fraud? Do you think that those are two equivalent things?
it certainly sounds to me like it would be something that a head of an executive department would be telling his employees that, hey, you better make sure that things are going through the right way, right?
Wait. No, that's a complete non sequitur. Like, do you think that
you
someone's
won't-
feelings being hurt by a
won't
statement are the
either,
same as the
so-
president of the United States
There you go
telling the
again.
voters to go out and commit voter fraud? Do you think that those are two equivalent things?
Right, and this all comes down to perception again, right? Because we're talking
Oh
about
my God, yeah. No words
Why
have any
would
meaning.
CTV?
Words don't have any meaning.
Hey,
No one's accountable
CTV?
for anything that they say.
ETV. Can I ask a question for just to give you a break just for a second?
I don't need
And then and
I am
once
loving
this
these 1,000 IQ
once
takes.
well,
This is amazing.
okay. Wait, mod. Okay, so once all of this is kind of over, I'm going to shift into right after what we can specifically do to benefit the American electoral process, making it maybe easier for people to vote, or to, if maybe this is your prerogative, dealing with voter fraud, and we can get into more specifics, which I think Jerry was talking about earlier, which I think would be an interesting way to take this conversation after this interaction is over. Fred, you were going, I think.
Yeah.
CTV.
So CTV, may I ask a question on your behalf?
Sure.
Riley, do you find that there's a correlation since the I think it was the late 50s to now, and the amount of mental health issues that have arisen. Have you did any studies or have you looked at any research on any of that?
Is that relevant to this consideration? I mean, the answer is no, but please explain how this is relevant, like in literally any way.
Well, so if you look at it from at least from a veteran standpoint, i.e. the way the Veteran Administration had agreed that there was PTSD.
They all hate it. What the hell?
Okay, by the way that they identified mental disorders, including those from war and or the conditions that the soldier was put under. Those things have been drastically changed since World War II, Vietnam, Korean War timeframe, all the way up to the first Gulf, and then now even in the second Gulf, right? And you look at society itself, and it's sort of mirrored it. Now there's different levels of certain words can trigger certain feelings, and those people then say, I have a PTSD, or I have an anxiety, or I have a mental disorder. Do you not find a correlation between mental illness and it expanding because of words?
Looking for the point. I'm sorry, I'm looking for the point here. I'm having a really hard time finding it. Where's the point? Can you please point it out to me?
That words, how is it physically hurting you? Is it mentally?
Orders his voters to go out and commit voter fraud. That is literally infringing on like the reliability of our democracy. That's how.
He's not telling them that though.
He literally did. Oh my God! You people are goddamn crazy. Holy fucking shit.
Here's the thing. You're telling them that. He's not.
He literally told them to go out and try and vote twice. We have already been over this, my dude.
We've already
been over this, my dude.
Okay.
Holy shit.
Okay. We did already go over this. So I'm going to move the conversation forward to specifics about what we think we could do to make the American democracy either safer or more accessible, or just a general conversation about the American electoral process, right? So this could be a question about dealing with voter fraud. This could be a question about access to the vote, national voter holiday. Lecture fan, please answer the question. National voter holiday, and any of those questions. And since Jory was the one who I think was most interested in that type of a topic, I actually throw it to him first.
Well, unlike all the other stuff we've talked about today, this actually requires research for which I have not done, because I think that this is a highly local problem. If you really look at the patchwork issue of how we do national votes in this country, specifically the presidential vote, then you realize that we have a lot of different rules, and there's no one national thing that we can do. Nor do I think that we should necessarily do a national thing, because what works for one locality might not work for others. What I do think we need to have an honest conversation about is who controls elections, how they happen, and have honest conversations about whether or not we are having accessibility problems, whether or not we are having who controls the chain of custody at ballots, and whether or not we are issuing too many ballots for a specific election if we are in very, very tight polarized times as we are now. Until we are willing to even engage with these levels of conversations, then we're just going to stick to partisan talking points on one side is trying to suppress and the other side is trying to manipulate, and we won't get anywhere, because there is a fundamental mechanical problem that exists that will not ever be sufficiently dealt with by political conversation.
I think I'll just so I think Jory brings up a really good point, at least when it comes to local levels. This seems to be a much more precedent issue than on a national level. For example, my state, we saw this. The current Governor Kemp, who was Secretary of State during the most recent election, has been accused of doing some nefarious things in the 2018 gubernatorial election. It seems like a lot of these issues arise when it comes to who's handling the elections. It's a really important aspect. How accessible polling booths are, for example, if there's a national voter holiday or a local voter holiday, depending on the type of election. It seems like a really important thing that we should do as a nation, but on a state level, would be to increase, for example, the access to have the ability to vote, and also minimizing the harm that people in power can do. I think, for example, having a sitting Secretary of State who's running the election that is going on should probably be something that is barred and illegal. I think these are all legislation these are forms of legislation that may be able to be put in nationally or on a local scale, depending on the type of election. I think most people, when it comes to addressing this issue, have this really odd idea about like, hey, Americans, like you guys just aren't voting. And that may be one aspect of it. I don't disagree with that. But I also think there are forms of legislation that we can do to maximize voting to its maximum extent, while also minimizing the harm that individuals can do to our democracy.
Jury.
Oh, yeah, you can continue. I was just trying to.
Well, no, I was just considering what Jury was saying and throwing that together with Polar. And regarding specifically elections and voting, we've got a pretty decent system in place for counting those things. The Electoral College, I believe, helps maintain a representation of the across the several states versus more of the populated areas, i.e. the cities. So it helps keep that balance in line. And you're right when you say that we definitely got a problem inside like the Constitution. It's a little bit away from the Electoral College voting thing, but it's definitely affected by the Equal Protection Clause in the 14th Amendment, which then puts some of this stuff back onto the federal government, whereas before it might have been handled by the states.
Well, no, I mean, CTV, with all due respect, and I think that the Electoral College is just the rules of the road, and everybody's got to play by it. That's how you win. That's how you lose. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how each state decides that the vote goes, how they lay out their ballot, how they count their votes, how they decide to send out absentee ballots, how they decide to count them, when they decide to count them. These are things that we do need to pay more attention to. And unfortunately, much like the pandemic that we were talking about before, where we did have a plan and we did have a playbook, but it's hard to focus on that playbook when it's something that doesn't matter for 99 years. And then on year 100, you're like, shit, why didn't we fund that playbook? We do need to pay attention to electoral issues before they wind up becoming massive issues that make us question whether or not we should go to the ballot box. And I don't want to be alarmist. I don't believe that this is something that will make people shatter the republic, because guess what? We're still the richest country in the world. And at the end of the day, even the poor people here are better off than poor people in other countries. So when it all comes down, we're probably going to not riot and start guillotining people because we're doing all right, respectively. That being said, the more better union is what we want. And there is actual issues that we should pay attention to that are beyond politics, that are mechanical, that are, shouldn't this ballot make sense? Do I know what this fucking proposition means? How are people voting? Who should vote? Should felons not vote? Should felons vote? Like an issue that's happening in Florida right now. Should felons need to pay back whatever they owe the state before they vote? Like these are not inherently political issues. They wind up becoming political issues because the people that are affected by them are likely to vote one side or another. But those are the ones we hear about. They are all there. The flotsam that exists in our democracy is massive. The only time that we care about it is because it is an electable cohort that could put one person in the office versus another. If we really gave a fuck about democracy, if we really gave a fuck about these issues that we're pretending that Donald Trump's quotable is going to tip over, then we would care about those. But we don't. We really care about political issues. We really care about whether or not a Democrat or Republican is going to get in. And until we actually pay any kind of lip service to the reality of how people vote, then I honestly don't give a fuck about whether or not this person is tipping over democracy versus that person.
I actually kind of agree with Jury. It looks like a lot of these issues have been here for a while, but now that it's currently politicized with one specific figure wanting to win, and it can make it very difficult. The whole aspect about felons being able to vote, just expanding democracy, probably shouldn't inherently be a political thing, but when when it necessarily leans over to one political party, it can make it something that's inherently difficult, right? For example, suffrage, right? Just giving women the right to vote inherently became
Yeah.
a political thing. Even though we don't inherently see it as a political action by parties, the party that ended up in giving women the right to vote ended up becoming a lot more popular. It's something that's really difficult and probably something that shouldn't happen, but it's inevitable, and that's what makes it so difficult. I also think that there's a little bit of positivity in this current election, in the sense of, hey, maybe we will get some more spotlight on how elections are running and what we should do to fix elections, and making sure that individuals have the ability to vote and that they want to vote. But that comes along with a lot of issues. Not to be doomer.
Okay, so is there anything else anybody wanted to say, or we could actually wrap this up early tonight? Well, looks like we can wrap it up early. So I'm going to have everybody make their ending statements. Then I'm going to go to sleepy bye time because I'm super tired. I was up very late last night doing stuff. And by stuff, I mean Family Guy compilations on YouTube because my brain's dead. We're going to start with Redneck at the bottom and see if he can knock it out of the park this time.
Well, I never knock it out of the park. I get in trouble.
Look,
okay.
Do it.
Closing statements. I do think everybody's triggered. It's kind of funny. For those of you that have said words do matter and they do hurt, are the first ones to use them. Polar, you've literally belittled, called me stupid, ignorant. What else was you're not intelligent enough for me to even have a conversation with. And then let me go back. Oh wait, I remember Riley said some really nice stuff. I was called a cunt yesterday. That was really good. Words, they don't matter, people. It's what's in your heart and it's your actions that fucking matter. And you can only perceive what you perceive. So just because you hear something coming from somebody else's mouth, it automatically makes you perceive that, oh, well, these other people are going to hear this and act a certain way, is the ultimate fucking form of narcissism I've ever experienced or seen in my life. You guys have these fucking magical 8 balls that tell everybody what they're going to be doing based off of what they heard. It's pretty good. I find y'all commendable. And maybe y'all's big heads or big brains are that big. Maybe y'all are the next dimension, or what were we supposed to be going through, like a 5th cycle of life now? I don't know. I'm just an old redneck. I'm an old man that's got kids all y'all's ages. And, well, maybe not Justin's, but everybody else's ages, I'm sure. I respect everybody for who they are, as long as you show respect back. I don't take any of this personal. Yeah, it's all good. Much love to everybody, and I hope you guys can figure out your TDS. If not, come by my channel. It's redneck_TM on Twitch, redneck on Facebook, redneck on Twitter. That's with a Q because I'm a redneck with quality. Peace.
Okay, happy to have you on. Now I'm going to throw it over to last username.
Well, I still don't have a good idea of all of the things that Trump's saying about the election. There was one example basically brought up here and it turned out to be a lie. So I'll just say this. If he's saying things like who cares? I don't care who wins the election. I'm going to stay in the office. Or if he's saying like everyone go and commit voter fraud, that'd be bad. If he's just saying, look, be diligent and scrutinize everything and make sure the election's fair, and I'm worried about possible fraud here and there and blah, 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 that's fine. You should definitely, the American electoral system, the election system is kind of messed. Having like every state do their own system is kind of messed up. And we've had much, less contentious elections in the past turn into huge dramatic shit shows because of the screwy system and the little shenanigans that go on. So yeah, you should absolutely be extremely careful about this election. And if he's just making people nervous about it and telling people to be careful and be diligent and keep their eyes out and question, how if these things are working, then that's probably a good thing. And you should definitely be doing that. So yeah, there you go.
Okay. Next, I'm going to throw it over to Actually, no, it's Polar next, then CTV.
Is this shoutouts too, or is this conclusion?
You do shoutouts.
Sure. So I would say that I think it's probably a good idea for states to hold elections. In Federalist 51, Alexander Hamilton specifically talks about how it makes it much more difficult for factions, specifically political parties, to gain massive amounts of power. So there's a chance of corruption. It wouldn't be corruption in every single state. It'd be corruption on a national level. I think that's why there's value in having elections at a state level and making sure that each individual state does the things the way that they do. I do see issues with that, though. I think there are things that each state could fix, and that there's legislation that we may be able to pass on a national level, but primarily should be kept on a state level. I also think that Trump's, I guess you could say, approach to forms of democracy and whether he will transition to power is also kind of harmful as well. Rhetoric does have an effect on people. His rhetoric specifically and empirically does have an effect on people. I think words do matter. I will never say that words do not matter. Feelings do matter as well. I also think that in this specific case, that Americans honestly should probably vote out Donald Trump. Biden 2020, baby. And ooh, forever. Go to my channel at twitch.tv/FollowersWorld. We do political content. I may be having a really cool guest on tomorrow, and it was cool to really talk to all of you. Would probably be fine with a conversation with the majority of you, and have a good night, everyone.
You're gonna be booted. How dare you insult me by shouting out ooh on my chat? That is disgusting. That is an insult. And that was worse than every other thing said on this panel show tonight. And I can't believe it. Utterly disrespectful.
Dylan, I'm with you. And since I'm next, I'll go ahead and express my extreme disdain and disrespect for Dylan on that. That was...
Yeah.
I'm with you, brother.
Thank you. You are next, CTV.
So I think we talked about a lot of good things tonight. I just wanted to take this last opportunity, just kind of go around the room and say, Redneck, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you.
Love you too, brother.
Last username. I'm getting to know you. I love the way your brain works, man. Yeah, exactly. Riley, great conversation. Sometime you would find it entertaining to play some Among Us. We did that with webcams on. It was very, very entertaining, to say the least, because you could read all the emotions on people's face while they're talking. So one of those types of things might be cool to do. Jury, brother, I love the way you took that debate, man. I love the black and white scheme. I think you were killing it, bro. And just great to see you on another panel. And Dylan, I just wanted to say appreciate the invite again. And I'm CTV. The only thing I'm trying to sell you is that I will critically think about whatever it is you want to talk about. So if you want to talk about something, come by my channel and we can critically think about it together.
Okay, I'm looking at chat right now. Somebody actually made an emote and used one of their emote slots to do the ooh fish with a strike sign. And the ooh fish is now on strike in my chat officially. They're unionizing. And I am going to call the Pinkertons, okay? This isn't going to go any further. I'm throwing this over the jury.
I would also like to go around. Redneck, I very much appreciate your passion. You are somebody that very much believes in your cause, and I always respect that. And more so, I very much respect your commitment to mental health, specifically with a community that is often overlooked. Last username, thank you so much for not only giving so much of a fuck about politics in general, but more specifically about American politics, which is something that doesn't necessarily affect you if you are indeed a Canadian. I'm assuming you still live in Canada, or unless that was just where you grew up. Of course, our super awesome moderator, Dylan Birds, thank you so much for inviting me. Critically thinking veteran, somebody that has a wit to match his laconic speaking style. And Riley, your passion and your commitment to actually research this shit and actually have the receipt is something for which we should all aspire to. A Polar who got kicked, and I think unfairly, for expressing his First Amendment
Be careful
opinion. Let me just say this. I was once a high school nerd who gave so much of a shit about politics that I bored all my friends. I wish I had a platform like Twitch for which I could gather a community around me. At any time, please reach out to me because I think that I would like to continue to encourage anything that you would like to do in terms of building a profile when it comes to speaking about stuff like this. If you've enjoyed any of our conversations, please follow me on Twitch at /Justin R. Young. And Politics is my podcast, my history podcast, Raise the Dead, chronicling the 1960 election is available now. And my season 2 about the 1964 election is beginning this Sunday. So go ahead and follow that feed right now. As it turns out, the idea of a president dying right before an election might be one for which you would like to educate yourself about.
And to wrap us up, I'm going to throw it over to Riley. And Riley, how much longer are you going to be streaming?
Much longer? I don't know. I don't have like a specific time set. Why? What's up?
Don't worry about it. Keep going.
Okay. Okay, that's a random question. I thought we were gonna talk about like the benefits of like making voting accessible. I don't know. I think everything I heard was fine. More voting is better. I mean, like at the end of the day, like obviously I care about which candidate wins, but I'm more concerned with having like a fully functioning democracy. So I think that there wasn't anything I heard that I necessarily disagreed with. That's why I didn't say anything. Otherwise, I don't know. It's been a fun night. Lots of memeing, lots of good shit. I hope I didn't get under like anyone's skin. I apologize if I did. Jury, you seem like you're pretty decently intelligent. Dylan, thanks for hosting this. This was fun. And if you want to find me, I am Riley Grace Roshong on Twitch and YouTube, and Riley G Roshong on Twitter. And I don't know. It's been fun, fam. Good time.
I love the you're intelligent. Thanks for hosting this. I love it. Great. I'm just...
Salute.
Anyway, wonderful. See you all later.
All right. Peace, fam.
Peace.
Peace.
Hey, this is Dylan. I just want to let you know you can find my content live at twitch.tv/DylanBurnsTV. You can also find my link to my Twitter and Discord in the description. I hope you continue to give me support, and I appreciate you for watching my videos.